Buzz, buzz. We're live.
There we are. We are live. It is another fracking episode. So let's hit this button here and enter the web.
Oh my god.
Oh, wait, fucked up. Gotta go back. Because I gotta steal the screen here.
So that kind of you kind of teased me. You like you want to go into the internet, and I was like, yeah. And then we went, and then now we're leaving. Bye. I was like, oh.
Bye.
Bye. So, welcome to the Controller Pile-Up. This is episode 14. ReploidBill, William Bush.
Sub-level Sario.
Scott Action Jackson.
Shane McCree, proto guy.
So, guys, as always, fandomnight.com. You'll find any of the podcasts, old material, new material, stuff that we are working on. For the most part right now, we are on mostly YouTube while we figure things out and we go live, and then all of this will start to take shape back onto the website again. But as always, it's there, and most everything that we do can be found there. So, before we go on to topic one for today, which I believe we are starting on the Game Boy games today. Before we go into topic one, does anybody have anything? Games you've been playing recently, things like that, while we kind of get things moving.
Maybe I might be the one who's playing the most recent stuff.
What's up? What are you playing?
Super Mario Maker 2.
Oh, that's right. You did go get that. See, I put it off because circumstances. I got to save what money I got right now. I'm buying the house. I'm finalizing the contract. But it looks pretty fucking sweet. It looks like it's actually a step up and better than the first one even.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't really played the first one except for some demos when there was like a demo unit at GameStop.
So you don't have quite a comparison.
Not really. But other than that, I think it's this week or next week is the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah, I know. God damn it. One fucking Switch. Your
Right.
games.
Yeah, trust me, that's what I've been waiting on for a while. So now that that's coming out, it's like, ooh, how do I go broke now?
But other than that, the Power Rangers game that I'm trying out the new characters for, that's a later topic. So
Yes, that's a later topic. I as well played the game for a while, testing out the new characters, so I'll have stuff to say on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Scott's in on that Mario right now.
Well, I think I'm a little bit newer than Scott is because I got that Dr. Mario Land for the phone, and it's all right. Like getting through the first 20 levels is okay, and then after that it turns into like Candy Crush rules where your power-ups will cost you money and like actual physical money for most of them because you have to buy the gems using real money. You collect coins and you can use the coins to gain like certain power-ups and shit. But otherwise it's an all right little game. I'm kind of stuck on one level right now because it keeps butt fucking me, but that's because I'm not thinking like 16 steps ahead like I should be.
Right.
But it is what it is. So it's a decent little game for a take it and play it like every 5 minutes. And all right, I've had my fill for a little bit and walk away from it game.
So it's just another decent little cell phone-esque game to pass your time with.
Right, exactly. Like for the casual to just kind of pick it up and play as a puzzle game, I mean, it works. Most of the beginning levels you can beat in like 1 or 2 moves because they want to show off what, the capabilities of the game are, like all the little fundamentals and shit. And then all of a sudden you get to level fucking 21 and it's like, oh, by the way, now there's guys trapped in ice. Have fun with that. And it's like, what? Yeah, you got to clear them twice. Well, fuck you. How about that? But like I said, otherwise it's not a terrible little game.
What about you, Shane? What you playing?
Same thing I've been playing.
What?
Pocket pool?
No, I don't. I play that. I don't play that anymore. I'm waiting for the sequel. I've been playing 14.
Okay, yeah.
Still working on it.
That's
I'm in down.
it's exciting.
Um,
For some people, it is. It is exciting for some people.
trying to think. Yes. Yep, that's it. I'm not excited. I'm not an exciting person. It's just,
No. Right now, for whatever reason, you are not. But to be fair, to be perfectly fair, sometimes gaming is like a weird like roller coaster where you're playing the fuck out of everything, then you're only playing one thing, and then you're like, I've been watching Netflix. Like, you get what I mean?
Mhm.
So
oh yeah, okay. I've been doing not Netflix but Hulu. Yes.
okay, so I could only buy one thing a month, and they had that fucking Steam sale, and they were selling motherfucking everything, and
Yep.
I couldn't walk away from it. I dropped the $15. I got Witcher 2, and Witcher 3. And I've been playing Witcher 1, and I'm very surprised I never played this game before. Like, I'm legitimately impressed. And almost okay, the battle system is old. It feels like a more advanced version of playing Diablo 1 at times, except that you move like you're in Diablo 2, so you move quicker and everything. But you have combos and everything, which is something that just simply wasn't a thing in Diablo. But it feels interesting, and the way I'm playing it mouse mode basically, so it plays like Diablo. I have to say, the biggest thing that has impressed me is that the side missions, they just feel like extra storyline components that add to the actual world, and they don't feel like bullshit. Now, here's the thing. There are fetch quests. There's like, you go in and the guy will be like, oh, the church is offering a reward for killing drowned monsters. And you're like, well, I'll go fucking do that. And then you go do that. You kill like 5 or 6 of them. You bring their brains back. And the guy's like, oh, thank you. Here's some fucking money. Now, that is a fetch quest. But in The Witcher, this is actually okay because it does actually bleed into the overall story in general. This guy's job, the way his people make money, is they hunt monsters. So when he walks into a town and they're like, hey, Witcher, and that's all you are is just some fucking freak, hey, Witcher, kill monsters for me. And he's like, fucking pay me some money. And they're like, here's money, the fuck out of my face with your ugliness. And he's like, all right, if I'm getting paid, you can say whatever the fuck you want. And that's the interesting part, is they turn that shitty fetch quest thing into a legitimate character building arc, where other games, when you're doing a fetch quest, it's very fucking obvious that you're just doing stupid ass busy work. And that's, I think, the thing that impresses me the most, is that they took even the most mundane shit and made it a part of the actual world, and it's nothing but character building. That keeps everything interesting. And so far, which, like in Mass Effect, you had to break your ass, basically, to get almost to the end of the game to, quote, have sexual encounters. Dude, not Geralt. He's like less than 20 minutes into the game. He's like, redhead. And she's like, what? And he's like, I brought you that potion you need. And she's like, thanks. And then he's like, I'm going back downstairs. And she's like, stay with me for a minute. And you have two choices. You'd be like, look, we got shit to do, or I guess I have a moment. So you click, I guess I have a moment. And I thought I was like, going to be good and get on her good side and sit at the bed and talk to her for a while. And who knows, maybe down the line. No, he's just like, let's see if that bed can support the both of us. Bam, fucking. I was like, what the shit? It was really fast, man. Way quicker than I ever imagined. In fact, after I fucked her, I left, and I went off to find some peasant girl who I'm pretty sure this is pretty fucked up. I found a dead guy, and I took tulips off his body. And then as I walked by some peasant girl, she was literally an NPC to the point where before I couldn't even talk to her. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, hey, I love tulips. The last guy that gave me tulips, we shared something special. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking suspicious. So I gave her the tulips. And then I fucked her. I was like, whoa. So then I go a little further and I save this girl from these dogs and like these fucking guys that are trying to like mug her. Then I walk her home and I have to save her from these like hound dog things. So I get there and she's like, I'd love for you to stay and get a reward, but I live with my grandma. We can't do something like that. I'd hate to have her, basically have a heart attack and die. And she's like, but I do know a secluded little place. And he's like, seclusion is good. So she's like, it's over there at the old hill. Well, after she tells him that, she also tells him, but we could run into problems because it's supposedly haunted. And he's like, ghosts aren't going to bother a witcher. I'll meet you there. So you go there and you fuck her in the old mill, right? Well, while you're doing that, she's quite the screamer. And outside the mill on the other side of the river, there are these guys looking at the old mill. And one of them says, that ghost is back at the mill. And he says, maybe we should call that witcher that was in town. And he's like, the ghost never does anything except for scream in the barn. Who cares? And I was like, oh, this happens a lot. This place ain't haunted. This bitch is a whore. Like, dude, the game is so fucking crazy though. Because then I like had sex with this crazy witch girl, and then basically through a set of circumstances and choices, I murdered every single living person in the village. Not my fault. They brought the shit on their own damn selves. And I went on to the next town. They're all fucking dead.
Seems like that was your fault.
They were in the wrong. I righted the situation.
Okay.
Very right now.
So what it sounds like is you're enjoying the game and you can't wait to watch Witcher on Netflix.
I don't know, actually, because I also heard that there's a Witcher series of books and novels and whatnot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like overly extended universes as much as I used to. I used to really be into that. Lately, I'm falling out of it because I can't keep up with all of the bullshit nowadays. And 3 games, which span over 100+ hours per game, are going to be more than enough Witcher. I'd be very surprised if I watch that show and read those books. If I watch the show, play these games, and read these books, then this automatically deserves a set on my list of favorite game franchises, because that's a lot to fucking tell.
Well, if memory serves, I don't think you have to read the books, because I think what happened is somebody already read them and then turned them into the game, and the guy who basically sold the rights to everything, he was like, it's a fucking piddly video game, it's never going to go anywhere, who gives a fuck? Because of that,
because he thought he should get more money, even though they bought the property and technically the deal was set and done.
Yep.
So he thought it was piddly bullshit, signed away his rights. Yeah, I read about that, and then he tried to get more money because it blew the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Oh, and there's also a set of graphic novels for the damn thing now too, and comics. So The Witcher is blowing up. So who knows? Maybe I get lost in another deep fandom that I can't escape. But I'm really hoping I just play these games and enjoy myself and not get lost in another fucking rabbit hole. But that's what I've been playing. So let's start this list. These are the must-play Game Boy games. This covers Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Why? Because it was tough Game Boy and Game Boy Color have this funny history. Some Game Boy Color games don't work on the Game Boy. Some do, which it gets really confusing. Now, every Game Boy game works on the Game Boy Color game, but some Game Boy Color games work on the Super Game Boy, but some don't. So we decided to just put them in one big fucking list, make it one system, and then get rid of the confusion. Because let's say somebody says, oh, well, I like Pokemon Silver. Well, then we have to ask ourselves a serious question. Pokemon Silver works on the Game Boy, the standard Game Boy, but it is in color and was programmed with color. So is it a Game Boy Color game? Because the box only says Game Boy. So you see the argument? I decided to cut the bullshit and just let us pick Game Boy games, and that's how we came out with another fucking 30-game list. So there's a lot to cover tonight, but that's a little background as to how we ended up here. Now, Game Boy Advance will be its own thing. It will not into DS and shit like that, and that's going to be a tough fucking list.
Right.
The list was pretty tough, to be fair. In fact, I'm surprised so many games made it on, so let's start this dive. Game 1, Battle Arena Toshiden. Okay.
No.
I put this game on the list.
Fucking hating bitch.
Okay, listen. This game is actually really fucking good. It's a 2D fighter game that plays like Street Fighter that even has a ring out system. So you can't just trap a guy in a corner like a dick fuck. It'll actually hit you into the corner, give you a tag, and then it can either leave the situation to where 3 corners is a knockout, like they get knocked out of the ring, or it can reset you back to the middle of the ring. Every single guy has a story, and they all play pretty much like Street Fighter. Believe it or not, somehow Battle Arena Toshiden is ass on the fucking PlayStation, and it's a good game on the Game Boy. Like a legitimate good game, like a no bullshit. It's one of the best fighters on the Game Boy. So that is why this game made the list. Moving on, next, Castlevania Castlevania Adventure. This Shane added.
Yes, it did.
It is a decent game. It plays like Castlevania. There was something said about the gimmick of Game Boy, especially at its time. Most of these games were just lesser versions of Nintendo games that you could take with you. So I'm not going to tell you that this game was great, but it was a legitimate Castlevania game that you could take with you. And it was harder than shit.
I can believe that.
And that's about all I really have to say on this game.
I put it on my list because you can never go wrong with the Castlevania game.
That's a true statement. Well, okay, no, that's not.
No, there's a few, but
64.
Well,
Yep.
Oh, the 64 ones were good, though.
Oh, yeah? Then you need to do a Let's Play. I want to see you play them.
Yep.
No, I'll set it up for you. We'll do it right now. Yep. It'd be fucking great.
Fucking set them up. I'll do it.
Okay, next. Donkey Kong Land. These guys had a hell of a task. How do you take a game that was, I mean, Donkey Kong was fucking hardcore. Like, it looked phenomenal on the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And you would imagine they would have lost some of that by moving to the Game Boy, but surprisingly, it does maintain the look and feel of a Donkey Kong game, even on the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very solid game.
Yes, I would agree with you. I didn't play much of it. I did play a little bit of it because I didn't have a Super Nintendo and stuff. I had Game Boy.
Yeah.
So I missed out on a lot of the Nintendo games on the Nintendo, but I did get to play some of them on the Game Boy. The ones that were ported over anyway.
I'm going to be honest to not remembering every little detail about this game other than it was essentially Donkey Kong Country. Now, the cool thing about it, though, was that it was its own game. It wasn't just stealing levels and cutting them down and recycling the same material. It was its own Donkey Kong adventure. In fact, they got 3 of them, and all 3 of them were their own unique games.
Yep.
In fact, next, Donkey Kong Land 2.
Yep. I remember playing this one all the goddamn time when I was a kid. Because growing up, we had, what was it? We had Donkey Kong 1 on the Super, or well, we had Country 1 on the Super and Country 3 on the Super, but we didn't have, Donkey Kong Country 2. So I think it was my sister's game, actually, but I would play it more than anybody else in my house because I played the shit out of Country. I played the shit out of Country 3, and anytime that we got Country 2, we would rent it, so we only had it for the weekend. But this I could play all day, every day, whenever the fuck I wanted, and I got really, really good at the game.
Yeah, they were solid. Like I said, if you actually got into playing them, they were playing Donkey Kong. I mean, Donkey Kong Country. They were country games, man.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive. These were damn impressive feats of programming in its time, man. In fact, next, Donkey Kong Land 3. All 3 of these fucking games made the list, man. And they should. I mean, this is hard to do on a console, let alone on a portable console that you can create a trilogy.
What? Make baby good?
And have all 3 of them be worth playing.
Mm-hmm.
That baby monkey is dumb.
Yes, he is.
Look at him. So dumb.
Next, Donkey Kong.
Can't go wrong with the OG.
Not exactly OG.
Yeah, this is 94, 96, I believe, because I'm the one who threw it on the list.
Yep.
And literally, this is a game that I used to play all the time, so much so that every single time that it comes out on anything, like I said in a previous episode that I wasn't on while I was in the fucking chat, I was playing this game while you guys were in the middle of like going over the list of like fucking PlayStation or whatever the shit games. I was like, yep, playing this one right now.
Yeah.
Like, I play this game all the time.
If I remember right, it only starts with the original.
Yep.
And as you beat the first level, it actually turns into a different, like it adds a whole bunch of other shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like the original stage where you go up the thing and that's the end of it and you just repeat the cycle. I remember it had its own levels and own thing going on.
Yeah, basically the first 4 ends up being like 25 meters, 50 meters, 75 meters, 100 meters. And then after you beat Donkey Kong, he falls and smacks his head. You think he's dead. Okay, well, now we're going to start over. He literally gets up, smashes the ground, grabs Paulina. You smack your head like you're dead. And then all of a sudden you start running through a cityscape. And then once you get through the city, then the next level up is a fucking jungle. Then you get through the fucking jungle and then you end up like in a desert. Then you get on like an airplane after the desert. Then you go to an ice world. Then you go to a fire world. Then you got to climb Kong Tower until it's eventually revealed after you beat him in the, quote, last level. As he falls down the tower to die, he smacks his head and all these mini shrooms that they've been throwing at your ass to turn Mario into a fucking midget. Literally every single one of them flies out of Donkey Kong, and he actually turns into King Kong. So you have to beat King Donkey Kong. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I've beaten this game so many times that I have a challenge for myself where I purposely try to get to 99 lives as quickly as possible. And the fastest I've ever done it, I think, is in the jungle, like literally after beating Donkey Kong for the final time before you move on to the desert. Like, that's the fastest I've racked up 99 lives.
Yeah, see, I remembered it wasn't just like you play the first levels of Donkey Kong, because I knew it went on to be like a bigger thing than the original game was. Pretty sweet. Decently innovative and simple for the Game Boy. Got the job done perfectly. Next, Dr. Mario. You know, I honestly wonder. I'm colorblind, and this game is a bitch for me. Is it a bitch for everybody else when the only color is like puke green?
Isn't it like clear and puke green?
Well,
Right.
Since I am not colorblind, no.
Are you sure? Because when you play this on Game Boy, the only color...
Okay, when you're looking at it like that, then yes. But if it actually had color, then no, it would be fine for me. But because original Game Boy is that weird green all the time.
And remember, the original Game Boy had that little contrast like dial that you had to do, and then you had to be in just the right sunlight. But you couldn't be in direct sunlight because it could actually burn out your screen.
Yep.
Listen, man, it was awesome at the time, but now when you really look at it, it wasn't the greatest fucking device in the world.
Yeah, it's so
right.
It's just, I think everybody here owned one. We all had a Game Boy. I think we all had a Game Boy.
I had several, yes.
So, some of us still even have their Game Boys. Bill?
I
think I have my Advance, and that's it.
I have two of my original Game Boys. I have the one that you can see through, and I have the original gray box. Next, DuckTales.
Woo!
Scott put this one on the list.
I mean, it's DuckTales.
Yes, well, the show was great, but I never actually played the game.
Does this still play to the same extent as the one that was on the Nintendo? Is it about the same idea, or is it like, is there...
I don't remember, because I remember playing it, but damn, it's been so long.
No, well,
I might confuse it with the Nintendo one, though. That's the weird thing.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Next, Final Fantasy Adventure, which this was basically Final Fantasy doing a Zelda type thing, but it wasn't Final Fantasy. It was actually, from what I understand, a sort of mana game.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Sunsoft.
Yes, it's a. Trying to think of what the actual name of it was supposed to be. I think you are right, though, that it is a mana game.
Yeah, I actually don't. I think that we named it Adventure, and for whatever reason, I don't know why we did that. I don't know if maybe they just figured a Final Fantasy would sell, because there was Final Fantasy Legend and Legend 2, and those were very much Final Fantasy games. This was Final Fantasy Adventure, which basically just played like almost like a Zelda-esque game. But it wasn't ever actually a Final Fantasy, from what I know. It was actually a sort of mana game, and we changed its name. But for what it's worth, it plays good. It's a decent little adventure game, and it works just fine. And there weren't very many of these back then, and on portable consoles.
Yeah. It is actually Final Fantasy spinoff in the first game in the Mana series.
Yeah,
I think it is. I mean, like I said, I like to look things up when I'm not 100% sure, because I don't want to sound like an idiot.
right.
So I believe what I saw is that it is a remake, sort of Mana. They remade it, I think, this game back in 2003.
All right.
So yes, it's part of it. This is the first game in the Mana series with the name Final Fantasy.
All right then.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I've got on this.
I never played it, so I don't have anything to say.
Yeah,
Wasn't there 2 of these?
No, there was a Final Fantasy Legends and Legends 2. But
Yeah.
Final Fantasy Adventure played more like a Zelda game.
Mhm.
Yeah, Legends and Legends 2 was more like a Dragon Warrior-esque type of system.
Mhm.
Next, Kirby's Dream Land.
Well, Kirby is an iconic Nintendo mascot.
For a reason.
Mm-hmm.
This game
Yep.
is just fucking fun.
Yep.
It's
I mean,
sometimes you can get lost in games looking cool or having physics or having some sort of gimmick that keeps you playing. It's not often that we actually look at a game and understand that sometimes a game can just be some fucking fun.
yeah.
Right.
And Kirby does that so well. It doesn't need to be super complicated. It doesn't need to be fucking cutting edge. It's just fucking, it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable experience.
I have to be honest with you. Kirby has been around a long time.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I personally, I know you've played a lot of Kirby stuff. I'll be honest with you, I've never played a single Kirby game. It just wasn't my cup of tea, you know? No, I was not a big fan of the whole Kirby.
Blasphemy.
Yes, it is blasphemy. I'll give you that. I just couldn't get into Kirby. I mean, he didn't interest me. I mean, I know that I've heard that his games are good,
Mm-hmm.
but I just never tried it myself. I know that you've played a lot of Kirby.
Right. And every single one of them ends up being like, almost all of them end up being basically the exact same game. Something fucking happens. Now it's up to Kirby to show up and save the day. Even though as soon as you start getting into like the darker lore of it, like actually reading between the lines and figuring shit out, the way Kirby's kind of like a Majin Buu type of a thing. Like he's a reincarnated like deity of like chaos. So that's a reason why he could show up and do all the crazy shit he does and save the day. But it's also one of those things where, I mean, as the games do progress, more and more of them do end up gaining like a certain like weirdness to them, if that makes any sense. So like, what is it? Like they end up adding like more puzzles and shit to it where you have to be a little bit smarter. But when you start off on a game like this, it's bare bones, as basic as possible. And that's what makes a game like this awesome. Like Bill said, it doesn't have to be over the fucking top outlandish. Here's all these crazy graphics. Here's all this crazy bullshit. It's literally eat a guy who carries a sword. Now you gain a sword ability. Go cut a motherfucker with a hammer. Drop the sword. Eat the guy with the hammer and gain a hammer. And now just start smacking the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
Like, there's really nothing to it. It's simplistic as fuck, and that's what makes it so enjoyable is that you can just pick it up and play it. You don't have to be any sort of an expert to know.
Yeah, it's literally the kind of game you could start almost any gamer on, and they'll get the basic concept of gaming.
Well, some of the best games are simplistic as hell.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said about having fun.
Yeah.
Which sometimes that gets lost in all the bullshit during our hobby. But it's nice to every now and then just play a game that was like, hey, you know what would be fun? A fucking fun game.
Right.
What about you, Scott? What is your history with Kirby?
I barely have history with the Kirby games, but every time that I've tried them, they're fun games. That simple.
Yeah. That's what's so perfect about it. Like Scott has no history with it, none to be, nothing that he would fucking brag about. But that's exactly the point. Is you could just pick up Kirby, play Kirby, put Kirby down, and that's the end of it. You had a good fucking time.
Right. Awesome.
Next, Mega Man 5.
Mega Man.
Why 5? There is a reason I put this on the list. Mega Man 1, 2, 3, and 4 are really bad, shitty versions of Mega Man 1, 2, 3, and 4. They work, but they're the same guys, and you just rather play it on Nintendo.
Right.
So 5 said, you know what? What if Mega Man 5 was its own fucking game? So there's Mega Man 5 on the Nintendo, and then there's Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy, and the levels were made specifically for the Game Boy. And the enemies that you fight are not in the Nintendo game. So
Okay.
it keeps the game interesting because you have your own set of things for each game, and it makes both games worth playing. That helps it stand out because, like, you play Mega Man 1 and it's like Cutman, and it's just a really shitty version of Cutman's level with a really difficult version of Mega Man fighting a really shitty version of Cutman. And it's not that great because it's not as good as the Nintendo. But when they stopped trying to emulate and they were like, we're just going to make a fucking Mega Man game. Perfect. Fucking perfect. And there's a dumbass cat in it, if that means anything to anybody. Next, Mega Man Extreme.
Yep.
This was kind of a retelling of Mega Man X, kind of.
Yep. Yeah, they added in a couple extra features to it. They kind of changed up some of the bosses a tiny bit, but like at least once you get into like the end game, they kind of changed up the like Sigma levels type of thing. Like those guys don't end up being the same. Plus, if memory serves, I can't remember if it's this one or if it's 2. They ended up adding in like a couple extra like side guys that you could beat up. Like overall, being able to take Mega Man X with you, like to me that adds it to the list. Like if you've ever played Mega Man X on the Super, it's ostensibly it does end up being the same game. It's just they changed it just enough where it does end up kind of being its own thing.
Well, there was like a whole different story that was going on in this game, and there were some different enemies, and like it was, I don't know where it falls in terms of the storyline. It was its own Mega Man game because it even had like its own fucked up boss that never shows up in the other Mega Man games. And there's rumor that this one guy that shows up in this may be a reprogrammed Mega Man, but I've never seen any proof to substantiate the claim ever.
Right.
But that's Mega Man. Next.
Yes.
Metal Gear. Okay. Over there, this was Metal Gear Ghost Babel. Over here, it was Metal Gear Solid. And I also think it also carried the name Ghost Babel under it. But I don't think Solid was in the title in Japan.
No.
I think this was a continuation of Metal Gear.
Right.
Right.
What's important is that this game is fucking shocking. This game plays like Metal Gear. Legitimately plays like Metal Gear. You see from the top down, just like in Metal Gear Solid. Even the VR, the 10 VR missions that are in Metal Gear Solid, all 10 of them are in this and play the same way.
Yep.
Like, this game is mind-boggling what they did on a Game Boy to make it feel like you're still playing Metal Gear. Like, it's brilliant. And the storyline is exactly what you would expect. There's a lot of text, a lot of reading, and some areas where you're like, this is really crazy shit, but it sure is starting to drag on.
Yep.
But it's a Metal Gear game, and you can never go wrong with a Metal Gear game.
Yeah, for what this game pulls off, you never thought you could put this in your Game Boy and play Metal Gear. You never, even when I heard it was a thing, and I told Jeremy, I said, find that motherfucker, I'm going to buy it. Jeremy says, oh, okay. So he found it, and he says, it's going to be like fucking $40. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Metal Gear, I want to play it. I got it. I put it in my Game Boy, and I about shit my pants when it played like Metal Gear. And I did beat it. This is another Metal Gear game that I did complete.
Nice.
No, personally for me, I've never played it, but like for me, like if you look at all the Metal Gear games, you know, going all the way back to the Famicom, all the way up till now, you know.
Yeah.
There's not very many bad ones.
No.
I don't know, Shane. I feel asleep.
If you take time into consideration and play the actual games, not the weird American fucking redesign of Metal Gear.
Right.
That's why I said Famicom and not Nintendo.
Right.
Technically, it wasn't even that. It was the MSX, I believe.
It was the
Yep.
MSX. I was wrong.
Yeah, because I think the first two of them are MSX games, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. The first two are MSX. And then part one is technically a shitty revamp of the MSX1.
Yeah, because that's what he tried to remake. And then he'd already moved on and he was done. So America made a really shitty version of like Snake's Revenge or something. Was it America? But it wasn't him. I can't say that it was America. It wasn't him.
Yes, we got Snake's Revenge. And when it
we also got Metal Gear, but it wasn't the same as it was for them. We changed the game. Like in the original game, you swim in through the hangar bay or whatever, and into the tanks. We rewrote the game and changed certain program points, and you parachute in and start in the jungle.
You also don't fight Metal Gear at the end. You fight
you fight a fucking computer.
Yep.
Just a fucking computer with some lasers that shoot at you.
Yep. But because of that, it brought Kojima back to do Metal Gear Solid Snake.
Well, he came back because they did Snake's Revenge, and while the game was not necessarily critically smashed, it was just kind of like, it's kind of Metal Gear. And then the creators of that game, from what I understand, asked Kojima directly, why don't you make another one? And he was like, I'm kind of done with it. And then I guess the idea just kind of hit him. And then he came back. He said, I seen some interview where he said that after they brought it up, he said that he really wasn't doing that right now, that he'd done the one game he was doing. And then on the train on the way home, he said he couldn't stop thinking about it. And by the time he got home, he'd already written the entire story for Metal Gear 2.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So he was just like, God damn you! Now I can't stop thinking about it. Now I have to make a fucking good game.
Damn you! Damn you! And putting that in my head. Now I got to create a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Right. Just like if memory serves, I want to say like most of the beginning part of fucking Solid, isn't that supposed to be part 2 for the MSX? Like almost scene for scene.
There's an awful lot of people that have speculated that Metal Gear Solid is nothing more than a remastery of Metal Gear 2, but it's not.
Right.
It even calls itself out at certain points where Snake very blatantly feels like he's done all this shit before.
Right.
He literally just did this shit and retired.
Yeah.
Like almost this exact same shit. He already dealt with a fucking robot ninja that was a friend from a previous mission.
Yep.
Next, we're on Metroid 2, Return of Samus.
Yep.
By the way, when Seth sent me his list, everything got its own line, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, Donkey Kong Land, Dr. Mario's, and yada. It all got its own fucking line. This got Metroid 2, Return of Samus. And right under that, on the next line, was just Aaron. So, when I was putting all these games together, right, and making a list, I was trying to look up box art for a game called Aaron, and I was like, I don't think that I was like, what the fuck?
It's shitty Facebook Messenger was all that was. Yeah, I kind of fucked it up a bit. I wish I had bullet points to fucking
for that game.
put.
It
Just
kept showing.
imagine if I'd have found a game named Orange and it would have appeared on the list.
Yeah, I would have been like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seth added this, and he'd be like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Every time you were
Right.
looking at artists, is like it brings you Samus, and you're like, damn it, I don't want Samus. I want this other game. Where's it at?
Yeah.
Right.
This game is really surprising. This is another one of those games that was shocking that it was even pulled off on the Game Boy hardware because, well, it had a map, for one. That was a fucking shock.
Right. God fucking send.
I remember, if I'm not mistaken, you're there to destroy all the Metroids.
Yep. Basically, your job in this game is you're supposed to show up and destroy all of the Metroids because after you kill basically the Alpha Metroid, you end up saving like a hatchling shows up and latches onto you and basically starts treating you like you're its mother because that's the one that follows over into Super Metroid.
Yeah, that's how we ended up in Super Metroid. So this game is highly important. And actually, there's actually another surprising thing about this game. The first game did not actually create the iconic battle armor. This game did. The way Samus looks in this game has pretty much become the staple of her look for every other game. This did that. It wasn't the first game that did that.
Right. Plus, this also added another thing as well, where it ended up going, here's the main console, here's the portable, here's the main console, here's the portable. Because without this game, we don't get to Metroid 4. And this game was even so important that the fans started making a fan-made like Metroid
Remaster.
2, Return of Samus 2 type of thing. And fucking Nintendo threw down a cease and desist like, stop that shit. And they literally took the same guys that were making it because they actually looked at the game and they're like, you know what, this is pretty all right. You guys are basically making your own like remade version of this. And this ended up getting a remake recently for the 3DS. And I can't think of the name of the fucking game right now off the top of my head. But it's the exact same game. They literally just changed up like 3 or 4 things about it.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, I have it. It's fucking phenomenal. But I played this one first. Technically, I played them out of order. I played 3, 4, went back to 1, and then I ended up playing 2 because I said I've played all of them. And my little brother's best friend, Justin, comes up and he goes, yeah, no, I love Metroid. Like, fucking Metroid 2 was so good. And I was like, do what? He was like, yeah, man, fucking Metroid 2. There isn't a 2. There's the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and then the Game Boy Advance. He goes, no, there's one on Game Boy. I said, fucking what? And he brings it over the next day and lends it to me, and I played the entire fucking game in one sitting, and I was like, dude, this game is awesome.
Samus Returns?
Yes, it's called Metroid Samus Returns. That's the one that's on the 3D that came out in the 3DS just a couple of years ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Which they basically took because I'm looking the art, the front cover art for Metroid 2 on the Game Boy.
Oh, man, listen, look at Ronan here. Metroid 2 is janky since Game Boy game. You'll be knowing about this pukey green screen, motherfucker.
They even took the artwork from the original, and on Samus Returns, she's on one knee with her gun up, just like in the freaking in the original cover art.
Right.
So that's kind of cool that they, I know, isn't this supposed to be like a remake or of the second one, like you said, or is this a?
Yeah, the one. The Samus Returns or whatever, I believe is it's a remake of the second game, I thought.
Yeah, it's basically a remake with a few additional designs to it because a bunch of the other games had come out. And, when you basically, after you've played like, fucking Metroid 4 and Metroid Prime and fucking all the other games, now you come to this and it's like, okay, well, how do we get this to get up on the same level? Oh, let's take some of the shit from the other games and add it in. So it seems like it's shit Samus has always had.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is surprisingly important to the lineage, and it was a portable game. And look, man, when the Game Boy existed, these games were fucking throwaway games. These portable games were meant to be wastes of time that then you just basically forgot about. But there are these certain games that prove that sometimes simplicity can really work for you. And this basically pushed the limits of what Game Boy was going and could do and fucking did it. There are some games that are shocking. Metroid 2 is one of them for Game Boy. I would also include a couple of the Zelda games that shockingly are fucking Zelda games. They don't feel like hand-me-downs. They feel like Zelda games.
Right, yeah.
That's hard to do on a system with the limitations that it had at the time.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, one of the games on this list that I know is on the list because I put it on there is even getting a re-release here soon with some updates to it.
Yeah, I put that on my list as well.
Good.
I know what you're talking about.
You probably didn't pick the same version I did, but yeah.
Next, Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Silver, Pokemon Crystal. All of them made the fucking list. They're all right goddamn here.
Well, look at that. So I put Silver on my list. I don't know about the rest of you. There you go. Now, I know you put Crystal and Bill put Gold.
I saw that Scott put Crystal, so I put Gold. So I could just have all fucking three of them.
I tried to put the middle ground.
Yeah, because I literally, when it came down to the Pokemon games, I was like, okay, like in my list, if Bill were to like look at it and show it, impossible to do right now without pulling up a bunch of other shit. But if he were to pull it up and show it, literally my list stated, put down Pokemon Silver and Gold. If you have to pick one, go Silver. Because Silver was the one that I owned.
Yep.
My sister owned Gold.
Yep.
So we ended up doing like the link trades and all the bullshit so that way then like one of our copies had almost all of the Pokemon. And then I got a fucking Game Shark and I had everybody, including fucking Celebi, which, yeah, you can only get that through Game Boy hacks.
It was impossible to actually get it here in America. Only if you cheat can you get that guy. That's it. There's no other way to get him here.
Including Mew.
Crystal was actually really interesting because it was a step in the right direction, and then we never fucking took that step.
Right.
Crystal actually has animated Pokemon. Like the Pokemon, when they come onto the screen, they go, "Badoo," and it's just a slight thing, but it is a big fucking deal for a game that did nothing but cardboard cutouts for like fucking 6th generation. Like this, they would come out, they would squeak or whatever and flap their wings or like or scream out or like throw something. Like it was just a little thing, but it was right. And there was a female protagonist, which was very different. She looked very wildly different than the other characters did.
Right.
And it was just interesting. It was different, man. And then it's really disheartening to go to the next game and then see the fucking cardboard cutouts come back because it really looked like they were about to move forward, and then they didn't. They just fucking stopped.
Nonetheless, they're really fun games.
Oh, these games were sick.
Silver was my favorite, obviously, because it's the one I owned.
Right. Same here.
So, but yeah.
Badoo.
Oh, what's going on? Oh, we're leaving the internet. No.
I'm going to do something.
Oh, it's Bill. That's less exciting. Oh, look at that. There's a Scott.
Oh,
it's a Bill.
That's me, motherfucker.
Yes, it is.
That might work. That might not work. We'll see what it does. I'm gonna go back
into the internet.
So, anyways, once again, we got the same fucking thing. You get your kid. You go on a journey. You're fucking 10. You do a bunch of crazy shit. Here's the thing that blew me away about this game, and I've heard people argue that this is a bad thing, but I actually thought this was amazing. You go back to Kanto, and a year has passed, and things are different. Like, I've heard people say that was a negative thing. I've heard people, like, literally say that it ruined the second game because the second game did not get its own soul, basically, that it was just kind of siphoning. But I think it's important to know that they created a universe here. This one game links the next game, and it's not like Final Fantasy where we just go to the next one, or Link, or like fucking Legend of Zelda, we just go to the next one, and then
Right.
kind of actually happen in the same universe, but they fucking didn't.
Right. Like the fact that once you get back over there, fucking Misty's off on a date and gets pissed off because she's essentially like shut down her gym so she could try to like grow up and actually get fucking married. You know, the fact that Blue ends up being the fucking leader of the normal type gym because he's such a fucking loser that he was like, well, I'm not.
And
Yeah,
because Giovanni left, and that actually affects the continuity of the storyline. Like, having Blue step into that role was, I mean, things change. They move forward. Every year, something different is in our lives, you know?
Right, exactly. And then you go off and you find Red, who's training on a mountain because being the fucking Pokemon master is such a boring job now. It means nothing to him. So you go up there and you fight his like level fucking 80 everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and back then, like, you can beat him strategically. It is possible to beat him strategically, but
I have no strategy. I have what I refer to as the kill you strat.
Yeah.
I pick my Cyndaquil, I get him to Typhlosion, learn Fire Punch, Dynamic Punch, Thunder Punch, and Flamethrower. I will destroy you no matter what.
And some people, that's the way to play. Now, you can beat Red strategically, and you're supposed to. The reason they make him so strong is without a lot of level grinding, you're not just going to walk up there and whoop his ass. So you have to know how to play the game well and outthink him because he will fucking wreck you.
Yep.
And it's also interesting that at the end of the game, the fact that Red is not there after you beat that part also suggests the fact that Gold didn't actually fight Red.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe, just maybe, through challenging himself in the climb of the mountain and the psychological process that went into it, maybe he just surpassed his own limitation and learned something about himself, and those two guys never actually met or competed.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Next, Pokemon Pinball.
Yep.
I played some Pokemon Pinball.
You know,
so did I.
Smith added this to his list. I was somewhat shocked at first because I was like, you know, that is a fucking good-ass game.
Right. Yeah, no, that was one of those games where, like, because Red and Blue at the time had, like, ran their course. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, I guess there's still other Pokemon games to play. And when I was, like, what was it? I was, like, in high school at the time, like, freshman in high school. And my mom still didn't trust me sitting at home by myself with my brother and sister because, well, siblings fight. Shocker. So she didn't want to come home to the house being burnt down or one of us being dead because the other one didn't like him and fucking locked him in the basement like a sinister alpha. So what ended up happening is, you know, I had to go to the babysitter, which they loved because since I was old enough, technically that means they could house more kids. And then if, you know, child services showed up, oh yeah, no, the older kids help watch the younger kids. It's a middle management job. Put a wheelchair and a mohawk on it. We're not getting sued.
Didn't this come out around the same time as Yellow?
Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody was jerking their pud over Yellow being like, oh my god, it's so much like the anime. And I was like, I don't care about starting with a Pikachu and then fucking building my team and having to be even more strategic than in the other games. Like, I just want to play the fucking game. So I didn't really care because I was like, oh my god, I got a Pikachu. Wow, so did I. I caught one in Viridian Forest. Who cares?
Yeah.
Well, mine walks behind me. So
I get the idea of what made Yellow so famous because it was it was that thing, like it made the world a little bit bigger that he was like actually there.
Right.
But since that actually did make the list, we'll get there soon.
Fair enough. I figured as much. But yeah, so I mean, in the meantime, like they had this in the list of Game Boys, like they had like a little bucket, and they had a bunch of Game Boy games and shit in there because that's where I played fucking Donkey Kong. That's where I played like Rampage. That's where I played shit like that. And I would sit down and pop this in and play it like all fucking day long, just because I'm like, yeah, I blame my dad for it, but I'm kind of a fucking pinball nut. So shit like that, like I was like, okay, no, cool. It's a Pokemon version of pinball. Cool. All right.
Fucking Tommy Seth here.
Man.
I wonder how many motherfuckers get that fucking reference. That went
Me.
over every fucking head.
Not that many.
Yeah, exactly. Not that many.
Right.
Okay, next. There you go.
Yep.
Pokemon red, blue, yellow.
Red was
You
my
seem to be missing green.
Only because green did not make our list. Nobody put
Really?
it. And that makes sense because
Right.
only if you went back and played the Japanese did you play it. Like, see, here's the thing. The games that originally came out were Pokemon Red and Green.
Yep.
Then Pokemon Blue was their third version. What we did was we took Pokemon Blue and split it up and changed it enough and made our red and blue off of their Pokemon Blue.
Yep.
That's how we did that. So when you play green, it is actually quite different because that was their first version. Kind of like how if you play red and blue here, our third version was yellow. It takes everything that the first games did, learns from it, and takes it forward. Well, if you play green, it's a slightly different experience because it was different and blue was the superior version over there.
Yep.
So we took blue and split it up and made our games that way. Now, I got red.
I had red.
Red.
I can't remember which one I had. I think we had red, but I know. Yeah, I think my brother had red, but I think I actually did get blue. Like later on. I can't remember.
I had red and my brother had blue.
Okay.
Okay.
So, this is how I got this game. I was going to go to Alabama. Now, everybody fucking knows about Alabama. So, since they were going to take me down to hardcore fucking Bear Creek, dirt roads, Alabama, I was promised that I could pick up one game. Grandma took me into the store, and at the time, believe this or not, I had no fucking clue what Pokemon was because I had not seen a damn thing about it on television. In fact, this was right when the game came out. The TV show was not running.
Right.
They have this rack set up in a Walmart. There's a red and a blue game, Pokemon. And I remember when I was looking for a game, I knew that I had to get a Game Boy game because it had to be something I could take with me. I have my Game Boy, and I see this red and blue, and I'm like, what is that? And then I see these monsters, and I'm like, I'm intrigued, you know? I start thinking about Dragon Warrior. I look at the back of the game. It talks about, like, RPG, and I said to myself, well, fuck, that's what I need. So I get it. I start the game. We're driving down the road, and I start looking at the game. I start it. I go through the starting storyline. I get to the part where it says pick a Pokemon, and I assume, because I didn't know, that if the red guy is right there on the box, I'm eventually going to get him. Well, I should probably pick somebody that's not a guarantee right now. Because, I mean, he's on the box. I'm going to get charged. Why would I? He's on the box.
Right.
So I picked Bulbasaur. I picked the green leafy dude. It was like a fucking weird bullfrog thing with like a bold on his back. And I was like, you know, I don't hate it. So I picked him. I started playing. I got like 70 fucking hours into the game, and I was like, where the fuck is my goddamn Charmander? And of course, see, back then, kids, we didn't have this magnificent device called the internet where I could just look up bullshit. I didn't fucking know, and nobody fucking told me what was going on. So I just searched everywhere. I kept going into the Pokédex and being like, what the shit? So I'd go in and I'd look at the Pokédex and I'd be like, where the fuck is he? And I'd like click on his nature thing or whatever and try to figure out where am I supposed to find him? And it would always be like, oh, you can't fucking find him anywhere. And I was like, maybe I have to run into him. So I spent like an hour in every area walking around trying to get the fucking lizard and fucking Bama. So there's nothing. There's fucking nothing for me to do but walk in circles and level guys up to 100 while I'm trying to figure out why I never got this fucking dinosaur. Now, because of that, Bulbasaur became my first Pokemon. And believe it or not, there's something to be said about the first Pokemon you ever have. And I do truly love Bulbasaur. If I see the 3 starters somewhere, like physical toys, like plushies or whatever, and I have to get one of them, I may like Charmander more, but I pick Bulbasaur because he holds a special place with me because he's the guy that beat the game.
Right.
And I'm almost happy that I made that mistake because otherwise, chances are, it probably would have been a long time before I ever used him. It wasn't until after that summer that I came back here to Illinois, and it was like 2 weeks into going to school that I happened to turn on the television, and it was like 6 in the morning or some shit, and I was ready for school, and the episode where specifically the episode where Ash meets a Bulbasaur in the wild and they go to that little area and the girl's taking care of the sick Pokemon. Like, that was the first episode I ever saw and also had a Bulbasaur's first appearance. So it was kind of wild that I picked him by accident and the first episode I ever seen was about him.
Interesting.
When I first played this game, the Pokemon that caught my attention, and this, I don't know why, this is just the way it was. I had a Bulbasaur, I had a Sandshrew. I don't know why I loved that fucking thing so much, but I was in love with it. I called him Bricks. I bought a stupid fucking fish. I'm glad I made that mistake. I made deer. So, and then I caught a Pikachu, which I turned into a Raichu, and holy shit, that is still one of my all-time favorite Pokemon to this day, is Raichu. Then I got a Scyther, and then my 6th guy, I constantly switched in and out because I couldn't quite figure out who I wanted more than anyone else. Like, I would put like a Dratini in there. Then it would become a Dragonair. Then, believe it or not, when he evolved into a Dragonite, I was actually so disappointed, I put him back in the box and got rid of him. Because he was turning into like a big fucking awesome water dragon snake thing, and I already had a Gyarados, which I was fucking infatuated with. And then all of a sudden it's like Dragonair, it's getting fucking cooler. Here's a big fucking fat Charizard, basically. And I'm like, fuck that dragon.
That's fun. That's awesome.
So yeah, I didn't have a 6th guy for a long time, but that was my original team. And that was the first game, and that's how I got my first Pokemon. I have very strong memories about this game. I loved Pokemon. But I loved it as a game. I never got into it in the way that other people do, where they know all the fucking IVs and all that dumb shit and all the breeding and all the wasting your life to play the game so that you can fucking beat up on 10-year-olds or whatever. I just loved playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the series played second fiddle to that. And possibly because I was Red. That's important to say. I was Red. I was that fucking kid. I did all of that. Red didn't have a fucking personality when I was growing up. He was a fucking fucking hat-wearing nobody that never even spoke a line the whole game. I was Red. Then all of a sudden I start the anime and I see the kid that's supposed to be me, Ash, and I'm like, fuck that kid.
Mm-hmm.
That is not me. Fuck him. And I actually ended up detesting the anime even before the first season finished. I didn't make it to the Pokemon League watching the show because I did not like Ash. Because Ash, to me, was an insult to the character that I had played because I kind of made that character in my mind because he was me. It's like Link. Link doesn't have actual personality traits. You link to him as the player.
Mm-hmm.
You do all that shit.
Well, all I can say is I'm glad you were Red. I never. Because I never got the Pokedex, and I never received the Master Ball, and I never picked up a Squirtle, and I never became the Pokemon Elite Four leader. I never beat Giovanni. I never found the Slipscope.
I can say that, like most people, I was using the Game Shark. I think it was Game Shark at the time.
Mm-hmm.
With the Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah,
and I more or less used it.
Start to the DS, I think, for Game Boy games.
Yeah.
I was using it just to get the surfing Pikachu mini game.
Wait a second. No, you're right. I had to because I remember on my Game Gear I had a Game Genie, so I was just curious if maybe, but that's not. I'm pretty sure it was a Game Shark on the Game Boy. I think there was a Game Genie for the Game Boy, but I don't know how it would have worked. I cannot remember, but I had a Game Genie for my Game Gear. But that's neither here nor there. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It just when you said Game Shark, it got my mind running.
Right.
Yeah. I know for Game Boy there's like multiple cheat devices.
Yeah.
I think Game Shark was mostly the one that I used the most until the Action Replay came around, which I think was more towards color into advance.
It was at the ass end of color and then onward into advanced. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I only used the Game Boy cheat to actually play the mini game of Pikachu surfing and being able to have a Pikachu that knows the move Surf, which is handy in the Brock Gym.
Which then became just a normal thing in Yellow because you could just do that in Yellow.
Of course, it's not as weird as a Rhydon with Surf, but
oh, dude, I love weird shit like that. My 6th Pokemon eventually actually did become Starmie. And out of the original game, the trainer, like, I'm weird like this. I was never one of those dudes that wanted to be a chick. Don't misunderstand me here, but 80% of the time when I played games, it was the girls that I tended to relate to. I like Power Girl more than I like Superman. I like Wonder Woman in terms of the Trinity. That's the one I identify with. It's the one I like. And in this game, out of all the trainers that I saw when I played the original game, Misty was like the one I wanted to be. She had the coolest stuff. She had like the starfish and the idea that because she was water, she had a Gyarados and a Dragonair. And I don't know why. I've always been that way. I seem to identify with the female characters. And this was no different. I liked her in terms of the gym leaders.
I did always find Starmie to be handy, especially with that Confusion Ray.
I like Starmie because he can do a lot of shit that I feel like he shouldn't do. Like, I love it when I put my Starmie out and the other guy puts out his guy, and I'm like, okay, bitch, I got Psychic, I got Thunder. I got Recover. Like, Starmie can learn so many weird things. Starmie is a shock you Pokemon. He's one of those guys that can learn a lot of moves that seem like he shouldn't, and you could take people by surprise and really fucking flatline them because they'll put out Water Guy, and you'll put out your guy. And then he can learn certain ground moves to where you know the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to switch into their electric guy. So you just pick your ground move, and then your friend is like, oh, I'm fucking switching out. And he switches his guy in, and you're like, bam, and he's fucking dead. And he's like, oh, that's bullshit. How does he know that move? And you're like, because stars, bitch. See them and faint.
I think on mine, I usually try to keep Starmie with a Confusion, Recover, usually Psychic, switching between that and Surf, and Toxic if I can get it, but I think that was later on.
So, just before we go on, because this is a huge thing, does anybody have like some Pokemon stories they want to share, or like who was your Pokemon? You know, like. Because I gave a big thing. I just took up a lot of time, but this was really big for me.
I think my first was Charmander, and more or less the way I got introduced into it was I was first introduced to the trading card game because there was like a little Pokemon League in the local mall over in Pekin when there was a Pekin mall.
Huh.
And that's how I got introduced to most of this Pokemon stuff.
Okay. Which is really interesting about Pokemon because some people were introduced by the show, some by the card, some by the game, but we could all talk about it because it all shared the same principle. Like, watch Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Be a fan of the show and then guaranteedly be a fan of the card game. It's not actually the same monster. But there was something said about the way that everything, the feeling was all across the board for Pokemon. You might not like the show, but you might like the card game. And you might not like the card game, but you might like the video game and not like the show. But somehow, amongst those three different things, we all connected and we all knew what it was and we all had talking points. And that's what made it so big. It really is.
Well, my starter was the best of the three, and that was Squirtle. Enough said.
Yeah, get Vine whipped, bitch.
Shit, dude. No, that's not bullshit, dude. Fuck you. You sit
Razor,
there.
leave your face off. No face.
Nope, don't care. Squirtle's cooler. Squirtle's cooler.
Cutting the beak off.
I think we're good.
So are we moving on?
Yep.
Next. Hold on, I gotta make these go small again. Next. Look at this. Some Pokemon card game made it onto the list. Well, let's be honest, we saw this coming. Gameboy, Pokemon was fucking huge. And anybody that doesn't understand why either doesn't understand video games or just wasn't around at the time. Because in the original Game Boy catalog, there is a lot of shit. And when you make a game that somehow stands out, makes multiple versions and different kinds of games, they had pinball games that were successful, card games that were successful. And these games weren't just successful because they had a Pokemon name. They were strong single titles. In fact, just like I said, I didn't know a goddamn thing about the show. I thought it was just a game. I discovered the show by accident. That says something about how strong the game was.
Right.
But this game taught me how to play the cards.
Yeah, I know for me, this game, I mostly emulated this game, and it more or less covered, I think, the first 3 or 4, what was it? Maybe prior to the Neo set?
That sounds about right, actually, yeah.
Yeah, because it had like it had prior to the Team Rocket, I think Team Rocket said of the trading card game.
I'm going to be honest. Aside from this game, I was not a card person until many years later. So I have no idea information-wise at all.
Yeah, no, I think he's right. I think this was like the game itself covered like the first like 3 or 4 sets, and then after that, yeah, it kind of stopped. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh. They had a card game version of it for like the advanced, I believe. And because my friend Tyler and I actually had it, and we would literally grab the cards and punch in the code to put it into the game. But yeah, like after so many sets, eventually once the game comes out, you're only allowed to use, X amount of cards from said set with the game. So I think it was kind of the same thing here.
Right, except this game did not have the card punch-in system. You had to keep winning the packs and everything, because that was added. Like the Yu-Gi-Oh games had that, where you could just be like, I'm going to cheat. Google search.
Right.
Yeah, with this, you had to buy in-game to try and get as many of the cards as you can. And, man, there were so many times that you get so many repeats over and over again.
Right.
Yeah. I remember I tried to play this game and couldn't get into it, and I was like, eh.
It's slow. It feels even more slow because of the interface.
Right.
And it is actually a better experience just to play the cards. But, I mean, if you were on a road trip or something like that, like fucking Alabama, you could play this card game.
Right.
Yeah.
Next.
Yep.
Power Rangers. This was a surprisingly fairly solid little action platformer. That's what it was. You picked a person like Red Ranger or whatever, and then you would go through like a level, and then you pick Pink Ranger or whatever, and you go through like a level. And you only played as you never played as the teams. You always played as the Rangers, as the transformed people. But I mean, it was a solid little action platformer thing.
Right.
Not too much to say here, unless did anybody else really play it?
No.
No.
All right. Next, Super Mario Land 2.
Yep.
This game introduced Wario.
Yep.
He was the boss of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Took Mario's house.
Yep. He broke into Mario's mansion and turned it into Casa de Wario, and now it's your job to go and find the 6 golden coins to open your front fucking door to be like, bitch, get out of my house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the fucked up story.
The premise of that, the premise alone is ridiculous.
Surprisingly, though, this game was shockingly good. It played with a type of Mario 3 world system, more probably comparable to like Super Mario World, where you would go around to areas and shit like that and do the levels. And the art style was very Super Mario inspired. He looked like Super Mario from Super Mario games, from Super Mario World, like the Super Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm.
Where the Super Mario Land original was more based on the art style from the Nintendo games. So there was something to be said about that. He had his own unique power-ups, just like you would expect a Mario game to have, where he had like the bunny cat thing. That was like his thing for this game. And it was a Mario. It was a solid, actual Mario game.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Was there an actual shark with boxing gloves?
Yes.
Yes.
It does not. It doesn't punch. It goes this way, that way, this way, that way. And it was supposed to be, if you got in its way, it would like eat you. But every enemy, all you got to do is fucking touch your baby toe to it, and I stubbed my toe. Mario's dead.
I like how he just fucking says yes, like it's fucking normal shit.
For this game, Yes, because there's 6 worlds. There's a tree that you have to climb. There's a pumpkin that's like a fucking micro machine set where like you go up to the pumpkin and you go in and like the top comes off and now you can see inside of it, including like an enemy, like different like horror themed enemies. Like because this is very Japanese themed. There's actually a yokai, like the umbrella yokai makes an appearance. The vampire zombie makes an appearance, the one that fucking bunny hops. There's a Dracula that throws bats. There's a Jason Voorhees mask with fucking Goomba feet, like a Goomba took the Jason mask and put it on with a fucking knife coming out of his fucking forehead. There's a space world.
Like it's about to bust a rhyme or something.
No, that's one of the bosses. It literally, you show up to collect the coin, and the bird gets pissed because the coin is in its egg that it's sitting on. So literally, it's just an angry bird that freaks the fuck out, and literally, like, it flies by going like this and fluttering across. Like it sits like this the entire time. And how it flies is its mouth goes all weird and its eyebrows go up and down. And it's like, and that's how it flies. And then as it comes down, its talons do like this to like grab at Mario. And if you have the bunny ears, you bounce off of its head, flutter down, and bounce off of its head, and flutter down, and then bounce off of its head. Boss defeated. But there's that. There's the robot Mario that's in the background, which you literally have to go through a giant robotic version of Mario. There's a turtle that eats you and turns you into shit, and that's how you get to the water world. I want to say there's another world, but I can't remember what the fuck it is off the top of my head. I could go get my fucking Game Boy right now and fucking open it, and it'd be sitting right there and look at it. But there's a tiny world. That's what it is. There's a tiny world where Mario like shrinks down to like being this big, because your pixel sprite is normally like this, right? Well, he shrinks down to being like this and fucking walks in. And I can't remember if that actually is the giant robot Mario or if that's something else. Oh, that's what the other level is. It's like a fairy tale, like a Grimm's fairy tale world where you have to fight the 3 little pigs at the end as the boss.
Man, leave it to Seth to remember everything about fucking Mario. Damn.
You goddamn right. I played all these fucking games.
Jesus.
I still play these fucking games.
Like, this dude's like, man, I forgot what worlds are in this Mario set. That's like, I got you, bro. I know everything when it comes to Mario. And I truly believe that. I really do. Like, right. I never played this.
I wonder if you've noticed Seth's name.
Sorry, right. I get you. I'm not an idiot. I put 2 and 2 together fairly quickly.
Yeah, there's kind of a reason for it.
Well, let's be real. Let's be real for a minute, though. Names don't mean much. I'm a proto guy. I took my name literally from Mega Man, and I suck at Mega Man. I don't remember shit about Mega Man half the time. I didn't play half the games.
I'll give you that. And to be fair, like I haven't played like modern Mega Man stuff in a while. I'm very much set to the old Mega Mans, but I've just used ReploidBill for so fucking long now, and every time I've tried to change my name, it never felt right. So,
and Scott loves action, anything action, so that's what makes perfect for his name.
Loves action.
I really don't know what. I guess it just rhymes, Scott. I mean, it just makes sense. Scott Action Jackson.
It was a high school nickname.
Oh, there you go. There you go, man. See?
Next, Super Mario Land.
All right, Seth, you want to give us the history of this game?
Yeah, basically, since this was the very first portable game, really when it comes down to it, I mean, it is much more different from the others. They did try to throw a little bit more Japanese mythos in it. At the same time, this is also the introduction of Princess Daisy, because his first girlfriend is Paulina, then he rescues Peach, then you come to here and he gets Daisy, and literally Daisy is in this game, and that's fucking it, which is the reason why now she's boning fucking Luigi to pine for the old days of Super Mario Land.
I thought Peach
So-
was banging Luigi to get somebody from another game.
I've
Well, I've
but
heard
yeah.
those fucking where people try to claim that Rosalina. Look, man,
Mario
Mario,
is the daughter of Peach and Luigi.
Mario is too fucking clean for that shit. If you
Yep.
were to ask the actual creator, he would tell you straight to your fucking face. Miyamoto would say no. In fact, I remember there was even a time when they started talking about why Mario keeps rescuing the princess but can never close the deal, and somebody showed Miyamoto a picture of Mario and Luigi kissing, and he smiled and politely said, "Please don't do that. That's not Mario."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got to ask you a question because it doesn't seem like, I mean, obviously, the Game Boy is limited and stuff, but it seems like that this Daisy is nothing more than Peach wearing a yellow dress instead of a pink one.
That's because they're, quote, sisters or cousins. I can't remember the exact origin of it, but they are related somehow.
Okay.
This game had
That's true.
a Switch.
Mhm.
You played as Mario for most of the game, but there were like these little side levels where you would play as like Mario in a submarine, where it kind of became like a side shooter thing,
Yep.
like
Yep,
a
and,
bullet hell.
Yep, same thing with the very last level is Mario in an airplane, like a literal prop propeller plane, and he's shooting missiles out the front of this prop propeller plane to fucking kill enemies and shit. And the only downside to this game that a lot of people don't like is the fireball power-up became
It's like a
referred to as the
ball.
Super Ball. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a fireball. It's like you said, it's a super ball. He throws it on the ground, it just bounces around.
Yeah, if you want to know the history of this game, unfortunately, I have to be a Nick right now. Go listen to fucking Brennel Floss fucking sing about this game. Because every time I play this game, sadly, I think of that.
Or you can look up a show that used to be cool called Icons that was on G4 and watch
Yep.
this episode like a fucking real motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right.
Support that shit now that it's
Goddamn right.
never coming back.
Yes,
Right.
I am definitely going to go right now and support G4 TV or whatever you just said.
No,
Not
there used to be a
G4
really good
Tech
show
TV,
called
just
Icons.
G4 TV.
Yeah, it used to be a show called Icons on G4 TV.
All right, I'm going
Yep.
to support it right now, even though it's gone.
Also, X
Yeah, I was
Play
about to
was
say,
on
go
there.
fucking look.
Like X Play,
Yeah.
Attack of the Show. Like it was a fucking sweet ass network, but because ratings are what they are, slowly but surely it started bringing in shows like Cops because it had to make ratings. And everybody that cries one way or another has to realize that for all the people that are bitching that shows like Cops showed up, Cops was getting the highest ratings on G4. So guess what the fuck they were going to play? More stupid ass Cops. You
Yep.
wanted the fucking show to survive, you should have been watching all the gaming content they were putting out, and you didn't, so it fucking sank. So don't
Not
come
my
back
fault.
to
I didn't have cable for years. And by the time I came back, they were like, yeah, G4's going bye-bye. I was like, fucking what? God damn it.
You had all these people that are looking back in nostalgia like it was their dick hard programs, but evidently nobody was watching because, like, while me and you, we may have fucking sat down for a lot of G4, let's be honest,
Right.
many people did because the fucking channel failed.
Yep.
I mean,
I
the
think I
show's
hopped in on the last year of normal G4, so
Do what?
I think I hopped in on the last year of the normal G4 TV.
Possible, and that's but yeah, it's
Oh, back when it was G4 Tech.
No. When it was still G4 TV and they had the whole RPG show and they had the news show.
well, it used to be Tech TV.
Yeah.
It was changed to G4 television.
Yep.
So I was watching it actually back when it was Tech TV, and then it changed studio heads, and like X Play and a couple of the other programs like that were moved over to G4, which that's where it started linking up with shit like Attack of the Show and things like that.
Yep.
But I'm just going to say we're going to move on. I was about to say we're not here to talk about G4, but technically we are because it's gaming. This is a gaming podcast, and we can talk about whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
Right.
I never got really a chance to get into G4, which was actually very upsetting because I heard of how good it was.
Yeah.
I never got a chance, and I feel kind of sad by it. Like I can't even go back and try to find it because it's.
I used to sit around at midnight and watch Nocturnal Emissions, which that was nothing but like a fucking clip show. All they did was just show footage of games that were out or that were coming out. That's all they did.
Yep.
It was basically like a glorified fucking commercial, like a half an hour commercial, where they play like an hour of Yakuza or something like that. Huh. And you'd be like, oh, fuck, I'm going to buy that shit.
Yep.
But anything else on Mario?
Nope.
No, not really. Like I said, it was a great fucking game. The only thing that got obnoxious, like I said, is you had the Super Ball power, and that got to be a pain in the ass because sometimes it would just, fly off the screen, and you're like, you didn't even hit the fucker I was trying to hit, you son of a bitch. So you learned how to aim your fireball. Super Ball.
I think for me, this was like one of my first 2 Game Boy games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Along
the
with,
first
I think,
Game Boy I got, this was in it. In fact, the first Game Boy I got was because my mom was dating this dude that used to clean apartments. That was a fucking awful job, by the way.
Right.
I was still very young and could tell it was an awful fucking job. Like, they would call him up and he'd go in and there'd be like carpet that some like fucking 5 cats had lived in, and the person had left like a month before, and the cats had pissed and shit everywhere before they finally found a way out of the room, and like go in there and be like, oh motherfucker, and have to tear all the carpet up and shit.
Right.
But during that time, one of the apartments that he was cleaning out, anything he found, it was his shit. He was in charge of throwing the shit away. If he didn't want to throw it away, if he could clean it or make something out of it or sell it to the pawn shop or what, because his shit had been left behind. It was his shit. He found a Game Boy, and he had no fucking purpose for it. So he was going to pawn it, and my mom was like, well, fucking give it to my kid. And so we did, and that's where I got my first Game Boy, and it had this game in it.
Never owned it.
Sad face.
Oh, what you want from me, dude?
I'm bringing over my 3DS next time we get together to do fucking Sentai, and I'm going to force you to play some of these.
I'm just saying, listen, man, I was a Sega kid. I had a Game Boy, but I told you guys before, I played Sega. Missed out a lot of Nintendo. I did have a Game Boy, but I don't remember playing it all that much.
So, Scott, you said you had 2 games to start out with, and this was one of them. What was your other one?
I think the other one is the next one.
Tetris.
Yep.
No, I did play Tetris, Seth. You don't have to. I did play Tetris.
Okay, that's fine.
Wow,
everybody did.
You played Tetris? Holy
like everybody else on the planet.
Fucking rare.
Like no. You listen here, asshole. I'm gonna tell you something right now. I played Tetris just like everybody else on the planet played Tetris. That's the one game that I think universally every person on the planet has played.
No shit. I don't know what even to say here other than
to say it's Tetris.
It's Tetris.
It's fucking Tetris. What the fuck else do you want? You know what I mean? Like, we have a lot of stories to tell, but the only story I could tell is that one day I had Tetris and I played that motherfucker. That's what I got.
Right.
Tetris. Tetris helped me out a lot when I won the 1985 World Championship.
Fuck out of here. Next.
I have the fucking hoodie to prove it.
Yeah. The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, DX.
And yes, you were right, Seth.
Yep.
Mine was different.
Exactly, because I actually had the DX version. I bought this in grade school off of a kid in one of my classes. I went over to his house one day. We hung out. played a bunch of games like Worms and shit on the PlayStation and a bunch of other stuff. And he was like, I got these games I don't fucking ever play. Would you play them? I was like, what games? Oh, I got fucking Mega Man Extreme. I don't really like it. And I've got this Zelda game. I said, all right, I'll get you like $30 for them. He said, okay. So I spent $30 and I got Mega Man Extreme and Zelda Link's Awakening DX. And the major difference between DX and the standard Link's Awakening is because this was colorized, they literally had to redo a couple of parts of the game. Like there's literally a dungeon where you have to get like 80% of the way through the game, and you go into the graveyard, and there's an area where there's 5 tombstones. You push one down, one to the left, one up, and one to the right. And then when you go to the 5th and final tombstone, you push it up and a door appears. And when you walk downstairs, there's these 2 guys, like just skeleton guys. One's wearing blue and one's wearing red. And in the original version, because it's not colored, it's in, your standard fucking green shit Game Boy color. He goes, one of us is red and the other one is blue. If I am red, then he must be blue. If he is blue, then I must be red. What color am I?
Green.
Technically,
Green.
yes.
You would be right.
Green.
Yeah, you'd be right.
You're
Right.
technically you're both fucking liars. It's both the green.
Right.
So
Right, but in the colored version, it's even cheaper because he goes, what color am I? And you go, well, you're red. Oh, okay, I'll let you pass. And it ends up being a completely optional dungeon that you can go through, where if you get all the way to the end, because you have to have like X amount of power-ups and abilities, if you get all the way to the end, you'll meet the Great Fairy, who will either give you a blue tunic or a red tunic. The red tunic makes your attack stronger, but you take more damage. The blue tunic, you gain more defense, but you can't dish out the damage like you used to. And I would always pick the blue tunic. And then, because they also added a little extra feature, because they had the fucking Game Boy printer to go along with your stupid fucking iToy, the Game Boy camera, there was a guy that they added into the game, or at least I think they added him into it, because, again, I never played the other version. But there's a little mouse who's the great photographer of this world, and every time you do something, he'll snap a photo of you. And there's something else that's going to be fun that I really hope that they keep in the remake of this version on the Switch, where you can walk into the shop and the guy sells a bow for 990 rupees. You walk up, you grab the bow, you walk past him and walk out the door and you steal the fucking bow. If you walk back in, all the items are gone and he goes, hey, I know what you did. You're going to have to pay for that. And he literally fucking zaps you with an electric tack that basically drains all of your health.
Yeah, he'll fucking
And you basically gain the title of thief.
Yep.
So through the rest of the game, regardless of what you named yourself, no matter what you named yourself, you can name yourself fucking Dicklord 873. The rest of the game, everybody calls you thief.
Yeah.
I think somebody actually tried that when they tried out the game at an E3, I think.
Did they?
One other thing, because this was actually made, okay, yes, it was made for Game Boy Color, but unlike the original version, if you put this into the Super Game Boy, it's even more color.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Like, this is one of those very rare games that if you play it on the Super Game Boy, it has like Super Nintendo fucking colors. Everything is colored. Like every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike where the Game Boy Color can only handle like 4 or 5 colors on screen at a time. I think it's 4. I can't honestly remember. I think it's 4 colors at a time.
Right.
But in the Super Game Boy, that was not true. And it could handle more, and this game was designed to do so.
Right. This game is also important for another reason. For anybody who's a true hardcore Zelda fan, this is the game that gave you the bomb arrow ability. So if you had the bombs and the arrows selected and you hit A and B at the same time, it was very precise. You had to hit them at the exact same time. You could shoot an arrow that would hold a bomb at the end, and then it would fucking explode at either the enemy or a patch of grass, wherever the fuck you were trying to go, which becomes very, very handy because later on, as you try to go to like the third temple, there's an area where you have to cut all of the fucking grass around you. Because if you, like, in order to pass, and as you cut the grass, holes in the ground show up, and if you step in the hole, you go down into this cavern, you have to leave, and then you start all the way back at square one. Not with the bomb arrows. I throw the bomb arrow. Oh, look at that. All of the grass, including the one 3 tiles over that I couldn't cut, is exploded. Oh, hey, look, there's one safe spot. Jump. Oh, hey, look, I just bypassed 80% of this stupid maze.
This game was amazing. It played like Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. It really is because, like I said, with these games, the biggest gimmick was take it with you. But this was not just a take it with you game. This was a solid Zelda game. In fact, next, because this also made it.
Right.
I played this game and beat this game at the bowling alley. Because my dad used to do midnight bowling, which means that we would go to the fucking bowling alley and we'd start bowling at like 8 at night. And then they would like do this thing where they turn all the lights off and everything was all fucking strobe lights and lasers. Yeah. And then, they'd play bowling or whatnot. And like, we'd leave at like 2 in the fucking morning. So I'd go over by the pool tables where there was an overhead light where nobody was. And I'd fucking play Gameboy for like 2-3 hours. And that's where I beat Zelda. Just a dumb little gaming story, but that's the way it was.
Right. No, and I know exactly what you're talking about because they would do that for a lock-in. They'd rent out the bowling alley because it was connected to the movie theater. So we'd all meet up at like 8 at night, go see a movie, and then you'd spend the rest of your night fucking playing games, like either in the arcade or doing the fucking midnight moonlight bowling shit all fucking night.
Yeah. Next is The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages.
Yep.
Okay. There was Oracle of Ages and there was Oracle of Seasons. And just to get it out of the way, yes, that made the list too.
Yeah, good.
Now, the difference between the games was that each one had slightly different dungeons, slightly different bosses. It was a slightly different game.
Well, I also heard
one of them was more
puzzles.
Thank you, puzzle based.
Yep.
And I think that was Oracle of Ages.
And then the other one.
No, I think it was Seasons because Oracle of Seasons, you had to literally change the season and like speed up time and slow down time type of a shit in order to actually access certain things. Like there was parts of like Death Mountain where if it was the middle of spring, the bridge is there. If it's the middle of fucking winter, when all the Gorons are in hibernation mode, they didn't care about that fucking bridge, so that bridge is broken.
So Seasons was more the puzzle game.
Right. And you had to play both of them, beat both of them, and then there was a way to do it where you could take the 2 Game Boys, use the link cable system, where if you beat both, you linked it up with 2 Game Boys, you could put in a password then, showing that there was 2 clear, like completely cleared games, and then you could beat.
I thought it was something like you had to beat one, and then you had to start one of the games with the link cable, and it would ask if you've beat one, and then it was like you transferred a save data, and then somehow at the end of the next game, so if you started in Ages, you would like transfer the save data through the link cable, and then you played Seasons, and when you beat it, it somehow unlocked the actual ending or something.
Right, yeah, it was something along those lines. And like I said, I want to say there was like a bit of a cheat code system to it where you had to hit like left, right, select start or some shit like that. It was something weird. But once you input everything and you go through it the second time on the other game, then you get to the actual boss fight of Ganon, which if you only played one or the other, you didn't get the Ganon fight.
Okay. They were solid Zelda games. Yeah, they were. Is anybody else, or are we moving on? Because we could talk all night, but honestly, that's pretty much what made these games what they were. I don't remember them having vast stories that like really stand out or anything. And honestly, I actually think Link's Awakening was better than either of them. But
right. No, I'm in full agreement of that one.
Okay. Next, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Fall of the Foot Clan. Scott added this one to the list.
Yep.
It's not a bad game.
Yeah, I'll say this is not one I played.
I remember it just being kind of your basic side-scroller, arcade-ish title, but it's not a beat-em-up. That wouldn't be fair to say, because it's very much more like an action platformer where enemies come, you kind of hit them once or twice and they die.
Yeah. Overall, as far as the original Game Boy, I only had like a few. I had Super Mario Land, Tetris, and this.
Okay. Go ahead.
This was a good Turtles game on the Game Boy.
Decently so. I mean, for what it was, it still wasn't. I would say it was a different kind of version of what we got on Nintendo, because you did get the 4 turtles, but it was a side scroller, but not a side scroller like a beat 'em up. You know what I'm talking about? So it was very much like that.
Yeah, even though for me, I enjoyed this Game Boy game more than that first Nintendo Turtles game.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's the only thing I can compare it to.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it was, and it's made by the same team. Ultra did the same. Ultra did both of them.
Right.
Yeah, this is actually, I think I don't think I got to the very end, but I got close to. I got to the point of defeating Krang, but I don't think that was the end. Was it?
No, I think you did have to fight the Shredder, but this has. I remember it, but I may have never beat it either. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I know I played it, and I think the closest I ever got to beating it was on the Super Game Boy, where I had an actual controller. But that was it. I don't remember actually beating it. Next, Yoshi's Cookie. Some cookies. Yep.
Wow, I actually never heard of this game.
I used to play this game all the time.
Simple puzzle game, and this is the last one on the list.
Nice. Yeah, it really is. It's a very simple puzzle game. You only have like the 4 or 5 different types of cookies essentially, and it's basically it's a match 'em game. It's like one of the few like match 3 games from way back in the day. So you had to put your cursor over the cookie that you wanted to move, and then you held down like the A button, and then you would either go up to move the actual column up or down, or you did left or right to move, the actual row left and right, and you had to line everything up to a point where it was like a Rubik's Cube in video game format, because you could set it up where you can get some crazy fucking combos where you could literally like clear like half the board in one move, because as you start to clear out rows and columns, it all scrunches together. And as it scrunches together, once a line gets made, it'll eat that row or that column. So as it starts eating them for the matches, it'll slam together. So like I get this column, then it slams, and this row goes, and this row goes, and it comes down. And I got to move this one over that when these 2 disappear. And you basically just kind of had to clear the level. It was kind of like a Tetris-esque kind of a game, only the pieces were already there. You just had to figure out how to put them together, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay. It was a puzzle game. I mean, not a bad one, not necessarily one that stands out, but to be fair, it was kind of like the same kind of puzzle game that led us to Candy Crush nowadays.
Right.
So, those were the Game Boy must-plays. And now we are moving on to the topics of the night to finish our conversation and end the episode. And we are on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers DLC, of which consists of 3 characters. We only have 2 of them so far. We got Gold Ranger, which is Trey.
Yep.
He's not Jason, he's Trey, which I don't mind because we do already have Jason in the game. So this adds a little bit more, and it also allows him to have access to all of his moves because unlike a lot of other people would know, because we are adults scrutinizing the shit out of Power Rangers at a level it was we know that Jason didn't get any of the fucking moves.
It's time for a gold rush.
You get that. It's hard as hell to pull off. Okay. I'm looking forward. These are the 3 characters we got. Very solid. We got Jin from Time Force. We're getting Lord Zed. Oh my God. Fucking dick is hard. And we got fucking Gold Ranger Trey of Triforia. So, subject 1, let's talk about this here gold guy.
Oh, that pyramid looks awful.
Shut up, bitch. That shit is awesome.
No.
Actually, it is. No, I'm being honest with you. When you're playing the game, it looks really cool.
Do you get that as one of the like support Zords? Like
no, he could because his power is different from everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of combat, just like he can actually do, he puts his staff up and he says, "I call upon the power of Paramidas," and Paramidas just forms behind him and starts shooting big fucking lasers onto the field. That's his special.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
So you get his fucking super crazy death ray move, but it makes sense to the fighting game because the pyramid, just like the Megazord, just kind of drops its foot down and does kicks and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he can just put his staff up and the pyramid starts dropping death. He gets the gold rush. It's in a 2-parter. He gets a type of run through, which you've seen on the show. That thing where he runs right through the enemy and then they spark all gold.
Mm-hmm.
He gets that, and he actually screams, "It's time for a gold rush!" If you hit the button at just the right second as you go through the enemy, it stuns them. And then you can roll out of that attack at the clear end of the screen, tap the B button 3 times, and he'll shoot 3 gold bombs. It's hard to land. Because if you land all of this, it's over 25% life bar. Chances are you're only going to get the first part of it because you recover from it quickly. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know he's going to shoot them. So the computer always blocks that fucking second part. I landed it twice today while I was playing, and it dealt significant damage. But against a living person, that move is going to be hard to pull off. His other move is he just shoots the 3 gold bombs from a standing position. He goes, "Power up!" and his staff fucking vibrates, and he goes, "Doo, doo, doo," and shoots 3 bombs. Or he can shoot 1, or he can shoot 2, depending on how many times you hit the button. 3 is the max. Okay. His other move is he runs at you fucking lightning fast, jumps into the air and does a jump kick, and then swings back into another jump kick.
Okay.
He also has Bruce Lee moves. He does two high kicks, like to the face. He does a high kick to the face, a spinning back heel, and then that side kick. That fucking bam, where he hits you real hard. Mm-hmm. He also does a move where he hits you, then he goes into a shoulder chuck, then he does the fucking Bruce Lee side punch, but he does it while holding the staff, and it makes a big fucking explosion thing, and you fall away from him.
Okay.
Then he does a couple of moves where he actually twirls the staff around and like brings it in. I love him. From what I've got to do with him so far, I think he turned out very solid. He does have flaws.
He's your favorite Ranger, to be fair.
Right, but how do I put this? Liking a Ranger doesn't make them great, because when we're about to talk about the other person, I actually think Jin sucks.
Well, here's the thing. We've played this game together.
Yes.
And my favorite Ranger of all time is the Green Ranger.
Yes.
I don't use him in the game.
I'm very good with him.
I don't use.
I have noticed you just seem to die with him, and it makes you mad. And you use other characters.
I use
Like,
other characters that I'm better with.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like what they did with them. But now Jen from Time.
Now hold on, we're still on gold. Now there's one other person that did play it, because Scott did actually. I heard him playing it actually when we started today, because Scott got the same DLC.
Yeah, I've been playing it. I've been trying both Gold and the Pink Time Force. I'm liking Gold.
Yeah, I think he's fucking super solid.
Now this is until Zed comes out, probably.
When he calls down the death ray, it does like 3 solid bombs, like do kind of hits you 3 times while the lasers are going on the screen. Then it goes away and kind of lures you into like the move is over. Then a 3rd ray comes down from the sky, and if it hits you, it stuns you and locks you in the air, and he gets kind of like a free hit combo.
Okay.
He is awesome, and he looks great. I can't stress it enough. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the color gold that they chose, but there's something about it, like in the graphic style that they're using, he just looks awesome. Like this picture does no justice at all. That's not a joke. On the Switch, he gleams and is sparkly and is like this really fucking fantastic gold, and the black really brings it out, and Paramidas looks really cool. Like it actually starts as that big shadow, and then like this gold beam thing goes down across the pyramid and forms it, and it just, I'm very impressed with the way it looks. The Gold Ranger is a treat for the eyes while you play.
Okay.
He does look better than his action figure.
Oh my God, yes. I like that figure, but yes. Oh my God. Fucking yes. Damn it.
And to be fair, let's be real for 1 minute. The pyramid has to look better than the figure. You can't get any worse than that.
It does. It does. Dude, it looks so fucking sweet, dude.
All right.
I'm really super pleased with the Gold Ranger. He's going to be a staple of my team when we play. There's no mind.
I actually look forward to whooping your ass with him. So that's something fun.
Because he's actually really solid. And I also use Jason, so.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It works out for you.
The Tyrannosaurus Red Ranger in this game is fucking sick. He's so good.
Dude, I don't even fucking use the Mighty Morphin people, man. I'm using Pat from fucking from SPD.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, and you do pretty good with her. Yes.
Oh, I like that. She's fast as hell. I like that.
So Scott, you're liking the gold so far.
Yep.
Now let's talk about her.
Jen from Time Force.
Jen from Time Force. I'm not going to tell you that she's bad. I'm going to tell you that I don't care for her.
I'll have to give her a shot.
I don't feel like she has the range that I want her to have. And I get that everybody is close range, but she feels somehow awkward.
She has a move that's supposed to be range, but it's only one move.
Yeah. She has a move where she shoots a gun into the air, and then it comes down on top of your head. Kind of like how Kimmy has the thing where she shoots the arrow. She has another move where she puts the 2 swords together and throws them, and they spin. And that seems to be a good catch move. She has another move where she does like this kick. She plugs the thing into the ground and then does like a kick, almost like a flash kick.
Mm-hmm.
Her special is cool looking, but I haven't had enough experience with it to see if I can make it, like, how to really use it. She does this thing where she says, like, she says something, and it sounds kind of cool. Something like, time to put a stop to you or some shit. And, like, a clock appears behind her, and then she runs through the guy. And it almost looks like you get stuck, like you're stuck in time, like you can't move. And then she does, like, this combo thing where she shoots you and, like, hits you with the blade.
I like that. Stuck in time, just like, Time Force. Yeah. She
looks good. She looks exactly like she's supposed to look.
Right.
I do believe it's the original actress. I can't prove it. And for what it's worth, I can tell that she plays well, but I don't play well with her.
Okay.
I think she's a trap character. Like, she very much relies on the thing, like shooting a thing in the air and kind of putting you in position so that it comes down on top of you and then doing a flash kick. And she's not, I like, in this game, not that this is normally my playstyle all the time, but in this game, I tend to like the characters that are straightforward battle combatants, like Jason and now the Gold Ranger.
Right.
Where you tend to like these characters that are fast.
Yep. I like the people with the speed, ones that can't take a hit, but they dish out the combos.
Right, and that's very much, she does not, she seems like Kimberly. Kimberly very much is like a tactic character.
Yes.
And this is what she feels like.
I know that Kimberly's good. I'm just not good with her.
Yeah, that's my problem too. I like her, and I can do all right with her, but when I played the storyline, I discovered that I'm not fucking awesome with her.
Now, if this is true, you got 2 out of the 3 DLC characters.
Yes.
That would mean that Lord Zed doesn't release until at the end of next month.
And oh my god, I cannot fucking wait to have a playable, combatant Lord fucking Zed.
Hopefully he doesn't disappoint.
And I want Rita. I want the fucking
because
we never got.
Yeah, because
I want to fight fucking Rita.
If you get Rita as a playable character, you can literally have Rita, Goldar, and Zed on one team. Team back.
Also, I'm wondering something. I've seen the pictures of him, and I know he's already promised. We are supposed to get Dragon Shield Zack. Is he going to be his own character or a skin?
Oh.
Because
I don't think it's a skin. It's got the Black Centurion guy.
Yeah, because the Black Centurion, that is not a Zack fighting style. That would not feel right.
No, he's literally a sentry.
I'm hoping Dragon Shield Zack is an actual character.
Well, I kind of hope. No, he only made an appearance for like not even a minute. But I really hope they add a sweater scarf Zed as a skin when the Z wave hit him, because that would be ridiculous, and that would love that.
Dude, I just can't. Dude, Lord Zed, and you're right. If they add Rita, we could actually have like a fucking the old hitters. Yeah, man, that'd be so sweet.
It would be pretty cool.
We need Rita. Like, if they put Zed in this game, which they're doing, and so far from the little bit I've seen, which all we've seen is a picture or two, he looks great.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was one of the more iconic villains in Power Rangers. Yes, Rita was the OG for us. But when Zed came, it changed everything, you know? Like, now Zed and Rita are like the most iconic when it comes to the power, not Sentai, but when it comes to Power Rangers.
I will tell you something. After reading some information, if they do put Zed in, I really hope the original actor can voice act him.
Oh,
but I don't know if he can.
Oh, man.
I heard sick, like serious fucking sick.
No, that's not good.
As a matter of fact, I heard there was an actual thing where you could send money. I heard they were gathering money for a treatment because he's sick.
Could they just try and get audio clips?
I think, I don't know what it is, but I thought for sure that what I saw was he was fucking sick, like real sick. Like, if this money doesn't come in, I don't know what happens to him. I can't remember if it was either a serious injury or a serious sickness, but either way, he can't afford it, and he's actually got he actually had a thing where you could donate money and help him.
Yeah, I think it was like a throat issue or something.
Yeah, I think it's throat cancer.
Oh, that's not good.
Which means he cannot voice act this character.
No, Zed has that deep voice.
Which is why I think they should try and take some audio from the Mighty Morphin show.
They could, but it might feel staged since everybody else is voice acting in the moment. Like they actually got to come in and do voice acting.
I
If those are clips and you can definitely identify exactly where they came from, he might feel forced.
but
They could have done that with Trini. They could have taken weird voice clips and put her in, but then she would have felt somehow cheated and fake.
Yep. And I wouldn't
instead
like
they
that.
chose a voice actor.
I wouldn't like that. I actually, if you're not gonna, you can't. But let's be real, you can't get the original Trini.
Yeah, you're right.
But if you can't get her, I just revoice that. Don't take clips.
And they did. They voice acted.
It's cheap.
They did not do clips, which makes me feel like they won't do it with Zed. But Zed is very iconic in his voice.
Oh yes.
I will say this: they did replace him before, and we did not complain. They replaced him during the movie.
I think that like I said, man, Zed's voice is like if you didn't have any pictures, right, and you only had audio of all the villains in Power Rangers, you would always be able to tell who the fuck Zed is, and Rita for that matter.
Yeah.
Other villains, if they talk, I'm like, fuck, who are you?
What are you thinking about her right now? Because I'm actually not too fond of her.
I don't like her at all. I don't like playing as her. I tried her. I don't like playing as her. Period.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Oh, that sucks because she's so good.
We'll have to, like I said, the next time people get together, we'll have to check her out.
Yeah, I'll be over there.
Everybody also kind of clung to. Remember when we did that live thing when we did the show and we were doing this?
Mhm.
Everybody started to kind of go to different characters, so everybody has different play styles. So she's not bad. Somebody will end up using her.
I'll give her a shot.
So, last topic. Bam! Nintendo Switch Lite time.
All right. Ooh, you got the Pokemon Sword and Shield version as a picture.
This is the special one that will be coming out.
Yep. Comes out. It doesn't come with the game. It comes because the game the Switch comes out like a week or two before the game comes out.
The major difference with this unit is not just that it is smaller. It got a feature redesign.
Yes, it did.
The Slim or Lite actually has a Nintendo D-pad.
Yep. And the Joy-Con not come off. They're part of the console.
Yes, because this is very much like a PS Vita design.
Yes. You cannot
P or something of that nature. It's very one solid piece.
You cannot. You can. Okay, let's be real. If you really want to, you can put it in a dock and it won't work. But you
Now,
can
that's
still
the
put
thing.
it.
Here's my question. Okay, here's the thing. When Scott brought this up, I thought, yeah, of course we're going to mention it. Now, this is as far as we need to go with mentioning it. Is say, yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's going to cost a little less. Yeah, that's sweet. So now I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to say, just for the sake of saying it, just so that it adds to the show, don't buy it.
I don't plan on it.
I would say the same thing. Don't buy it if you already got a Switch.
Of course, yes, because
period. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
I'm going to argue just for the sake of arguing. That's honestly what this is. I'm going to argue for the sake of arguing. Don't buy it. Waste of money.
I think so.
Oh.
Yep.
I know where this can go.
Yeah.
Now,
because if people buy this, guess what? You're going to get a Switch XL. Oh, a Switch 2D XL or some bullshit like that.
actually, without me even considering that, Scott, you're right, because if they figure out they could sell multiple versions, yes, they will. So yes, truth be told, you're making a valid point. Yes, this could very well lead to an XL and yada yada. Here's the thing. If I'm going to argue against it, just for the sake of doing so we can give, because like Ronan here is talking about he doesn't have one, what should he do? So let's make this an honest consideration. One, this will not work with your television.
Nope.
Yep.
Like I said,
you cannot dock this, and there is no cord to hook it to your TV.
No, like I said, you can put it in the dock, it just won't do anything.
Now, that's one con. So now, I'm good. We're going to do this for a little while. That's a con.
Well, I got another con.
A positive it does have better battery life.
Yes,
Slightly.
But it does.
But slight or not, it's still better battery.
Now, add a con.
I got a con. Because this game is this Switch is only handheld. I don't think there's a lot of them, but if a game that came out on the Switch does not support handheld mode, you cannot play it on this.
Yep.
This would be true.
Yep.
That is a fucking con. You're basically limited. Okay, like I said, I don't think there's a lot of them out there, but even so, there are still some games you cannot play on the Switch Lite, which is a con.
Yep.
Because that's bullshit.
I can guarantee one of them.
What's that?
Mario Party is going to be one of them because Mario Party will only play on my Switch using the Joy-Cons if you take them off and hold them sideways, regardless of whether it's undocked or docked.
Oh,
You
shit.
can only play using it this way with the thing on it, so that way then you have the L and R and you have your face buttons and your fucking joystick.
And
That's
a
it.
killer app. That's a killer app.
Mhm.
That's not a small game. That's not a central app. That's a killer app. That's a huge motherfucking con.
I have another con, if you don't mind.
Nope. Positive.
Oh,
Design comes with a D-pad, is smaller and more comfortable on the hands. I'm going to admit that because the Switch is a little bit bulky. It's still fine for me. It doesn't hurt me at all, but it is a little big. This is a little smaller, little easier for people's hands, has a D-pad, and multiple colors. Seems stupid and gimmicky, but let's be honest. When you go to the store to buy your 3DS, you can get a red one, a black one, a blue one, a gray one. Choices do legitimately matter.
This also goes on with your own positive. Your pro is when you're holding the original Switch in handheld mode. You know, you can feel the Joy-Cons, right? Like
Yeah.
if you twist your wrist, you can literally snap it.
Yeah, you can feel they're clipped in.
This does not. You won't have that issue because
Now, I'm going to add a con on top of what you just said.
okay.
We had a fucking party at this house, and I lost 4 motherfucking Joy-Cons in a single night due to damages.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Pushing on the
'Cause
controller.
I lost one.
People pushing on the controller too hard. Somebody stepped on one of them. They just simple play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the fuck happened. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what the fuck happened that night. But I lost 4 fucking Joy-Cons. One of them was stepped on. Okay? I'm on a controller. Sometimes they don't survive. The Joy-Cons do not survive stepping.
No.
Now, if you break these motherfucking Joy-Cons,
You cannot replace them.
you cannot replace them.
These are built in.
Buy for $40, 2 Joy-Cons, clip them on the sides, and go right back to my Switch. You can't.
Shit, $40. Last I checked, it was like fucking 70. That shit almost killed me.
I go down to the pawn store. Pawn King sells them for $40.
Ah. Well, fuck, I need to head the fuck over there.
Now,
Everywhere else is goddamn 70, and the only thing I could play my damn Switch with is the Pro Controller, so I have to have it docked in order to play.
I will say you always take a risk when you buy from a pawn store, but it was $40. They worked.
I
Right.
have a pro and a con, but since you just gave a con, I'll give a pro.
Go ahead.
$200. It is cheaper. It's $100 cheaper, but once again, you're losing stuff when you think about it. You don't have TV mode anymore, so no dock, no HDMI cable, none of that crap.
Okay.
But for people who don't,
To put an extra on top of what you just said, that may sound like it's not a big deal, but some of the games, I will say this, the screen has a little more resolution. I was reading this. It has more pixels on the screen on the Lite than the original.
yes, but
There's something to be said about me plugging this fucker into my TV and using my giant 4K bad motherfucker TV to play some of these games that truly look great on the Switch.
now the
Can you
$200.
imagine if you never got to see Zelda on a screen?
Oh yes, it's so good playing it on.
It's so good to be able to take these games anywhere.
Yes.
And something to be said for the fact that it is a console.
Yes, you're still playing. You're still getting console quality games in an only handheld console. Now, the $200 price point is for people like, let's say you've never had a Switch,
Yes.
but you leave a lot. You're always on the go. Then I personally would recommend if you don't play games at home very often, or you like to play phone games, which your phone is a fucking mobile thing.
Yes.
I would tell you for $100 cheaper, if you didn't want to play it on your TV, you just want to have a handheld, it's worth it. But remember, like I said earlier, certain games you cannot play.
And you are going to lose features.
And you're going to lose features.
But you will get a D-pad. And that sounds like such a stupid thing, but you'd be surprised how much you miss that fucking thing.
I miss a normal D-pad.
Because it's not there on the Switch.
No.
You don't have
You have those
Joy-Con that has a D-pad.
Yes, the original Switch doesn't have a D-pad. It has 4 buttons that are like up, down, left, right.
Now, those things you could take with you.
Now, my con. Now, this is another big con.
Go ahead.
There is no kickstand. So you want to play
because you're not going to play it that way.
True, but you have friends that want to come over. You go to a friend's house. They don't have a Switch. Oh, they do.
Get one of the Switch cases that has a kickstand.
Yes. Oh, and they have chargers that's like a kickstand. I know the kickstand on the original Switches are cheap as hell. They easily can pop right off.
Okay, I'm going to say this comes down to because I'm going to interrupt your line of thought here. This comes down to something that I've watched my daughter do 100 times. She has a Switch.
Mm-hmm.
When she goes places, sometimes she's playing a game. And sometimes a random kid, like one of my nephews or something like that, will get involved. And they'll come over and they'll watch her play. She will immediately, as a child that just wants to enjoy playing games, put the Switch down. Put the Switch down, hit the flip the little kickstand, take the controllers off, and immediately start playing with her friend.
Yes.
You cannot do that. That is a loss of social activity.
Yes.
And interaction.
You are going to lose that.
Like if I go to if me and you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, Shane, and I just happen to have the Switch in my truck, me and you can play Street Fighter while we wait for chicken.
Yes, but this...
If I have a light, your ass can sit there and shut up. I gotta fucking be Cammy.
You're right. I can sit there and look at the back of your Switch and be like, that must be fun.
Right. Jane, this is your water. You may drink it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a joke.
Oh, Scott, I appreciate you giving me...
This is my water. I will enjoy it.
Oh, shit.
That was good. That was good.
I enjoyed it. This is your water. May you drink it.
I do have one more pro. And the pro that I have is this. When you look at your original Switches, some of them came bundled with games. Like, oh, this is the Mario Odyssey one. They didn't really change anything except the controller color, right?
Yeah, and actually, that's not true either. There were only 2 Joy-Con colors.
Yes.
There was the gray, which was the standard Switch, and the red and
the neon red and blue.
To do with Mario, it was a tribute to the Famicom.
Yep.
Now this light, especially the title card that you have currently on the screen, Bill,
yes,
is a themed Switch.
Yes,
for Pokemon. I mean, it's great.
Jack.
You got red on one side, you got blue on the other.
No.
That's a cat.
Hey.
That's a cat.
Go in.
That's the cat. That's a picture.
Bubba.
Yeah.
Ooh, you okay, buddy? I know there was a bag there. I know. Go see mommy.
Okay.
Pain in my ass.
And you have the Pokemon that are in the front of Sword and Shield on the back of it. When you look at the original Switches, we don't really have these kind of themed ones. Like I said, you get different color controllers. That's not really a theme. I can go out and buy those now.
It's true. And now there's like gray ones, green ones, and yellow ones.
Yes, and this one is a legitimate themed Switch. If you're going to buy that Pokemon game, this would be a good one to get if you're a big Pokemon fan and you want to play handheld. If you want that fucking old school feeling of taking your Game Boy with you or your DS, because we had those red and blue.
I got that feeling with my Switch.
Listen, very carefully. I was still talking. If you want the like, you know how we had those 3DS XLs. You had the red one and I had the blue one, and they had the Pokemon on the front from X and Y.
Yes.
Well, this one has that. You got that feeling again. This one's got that theme. I'm not trying to tell you to go out and buy one, but if you don't have a Switch and you don't plan on playing it at home, but you just want to play it at a friend's house and something, you're saving $100 and you're getting a handheld, knowing that you are going to miss quite a few features.
Yes.
But Shane, you just liken this to the Game Boy. I'm sorry, I had a pocket and a color and an advanced. You know what I could do with those? I could put them in my fucking pocket and walk away with them. You know what I can't do with this or the big gray brick Game Boy? Put it in my fucking pocket and carry it with me.
Yeah, the fucking cargo pants to carry the original Game Boy.
Right.
I actually don't know how. I know this is smaller. I just don't know how much smaller it is.
It's relatively. If you was to put this on top of the Switch, the edges right here are pretty much right in the middle of the sticks.
Oh wow! Okay, that's
It's relatively like an inch and a half on each side.
Okay. Well, you can't put it in your pocket. Yes, you are correct, Seth. That's why we get a case.
I mean, you could if you've got bad motherfucker MC Hammer pants with giant ass pockets, but
here's
good luck sitting the fuck down comfortably.
But here's the problem with those. But you run into that problem, Seth. This isn't the 90s. I can't go to my local Walmart and get parachute pants.
We're going to bring this episode to a close.
You can do that, yes.
Here's my thing.
Okay.
Ronan asked a real question. We argued the points just for the sake of giving him some argument.
Okay.
This thing, buy it or pass?
Pass.
Pass. Okay. Scott's on a hard pass. That sounds like a hard pass.
I gave it its pros. I gave it its cons. But I am in. When it comes down to it, it's missing too many features for me. I would have to be. I'm with Scott. That's a hard pass for me.
Okay.
I am on the fence with this, only for one key factor.
All right.
If you don't own the Switch and you're a broke motherfucker and you want to play the Switch, feel free to grab it. Just remember, your ass either has to have no friends, or much like when you get a new girlfriend, your friends can fuck off because you're getting new girlfriend pussy.
It's true.
That's what this basically is going to be. You need to tell your friends, I'm sorry, I'm playing my Switch. Go play Candy Crush on your phone. I'm busy.
Play this with your new girlfriend.
Right. My Switch, when I got my girlfriend a year ago, our very first date, I drugged the fucking Switch with me, and we played fucking Kirby on the Switch together. You know what I can't do with that thing? Play the Switch with my girlfriend.
That is so important to what the Switch is.
Right.
The Switch makes itself, its power is known in the fact that it is a portable console. This is a handheld console. There is a difference. A handheld console is like the PSP. You still play it by your goddamn self.
Yes.
Yep.
Switch is a portable console.
Yes.
Like lugging a giant fucking TV around that has a system connected to it, and I give out my PlayStation controllers, and me and my friend play fucking Twisted Metal. Like, the fact that I could take the Switch anywhere at any time. I could play it at home, but I could take it right off the dock. Okay, with my mom today. She's over. I got the Switch. And she says, hey, come out here to the patio with me, because she's going to go outside and smoke and she wants to talk. I just take it off the dock, walk outside, put it down.
Yep.
It's fully charged because I was playing it on the dock.
Yep.
Then I took it off, walked outside, played it, brought it back in, put it back on the dock, went back to the big graphics and everything like that. Never lost a beat.
There you go. That is the biggest selling point for the Switch.
Losing those options, to me, makes this nothing more than another DS Game Boy-esque thing.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but because of the Switch, the Game Boy has finally fucking died. It is irrelevant. This thing, while it sounds cool, I also am a hard pass with a warning. Anybody that is interested in this, know that Joy-Cons break. We fucking know.
Yeah.
These are connected.
They
When this thing breaks,
$200.
now you could spend the extra $100. Might take you a little longer to save up, but I would spend the extra $100
Easily.
because if you want to, the option to share is there. If you want to, the option to TV is there. Quite
If you
frankly,
want to, the option for other controllers is there.
Well, no, you can.
and the screen is bigger. Like, I get the idea of making it light, but you did lose the screen, and the screen is already plenty small.
Right.
And here's the thing. You can lose a little bit of screen because on this Switch, you're always going to play by your own goddamn self. But, like, when I want to play Mario Kart, it's going to split the screen on that little screen.
Yep.
So I need the extra screen. I guess I don't need it with the light, but I'm still going to say, and so far this is across our whole fucking panel, we say, do not buy this thing. Seems cool. This is a bad fucking idea.
Yep. Plus, not to mention the fact that one of my coworkers who actually knows Scott, used to work with him at GameStop, me and him were talking about it on one of our breaks. We're standing outside smoking, just bullshitting. And he literally goes, yeah, this new light, I feel like that's going to be the fucking Game Boy killer. And I'm like, well, technically the system itself is a Game Boy killer.
Yeah.
Nintendo will never give up on a fucking Game Boy like a 3DS and that. But
I think
it technically is the killer.
I think they're getting closer to killing the DS's.
Right.
The
Anything.
DS serves no purpose. The Game Boy is dead. The Game Boy was dead the day the Switch came out. I don't care what's left to produce on it. It's just like, look, you could say everybody was like, oh, well, you know, the Nintendo, this and that. When the Super Nintendo came out, the Nintendo was dead. Yes, a couple of games did come out, but the Nintendo was fucking dead.
Just like the PS2, when the
Game
PS2 came out.
legacy is over with the creation of the Switch.
Game Boy was great. The Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, SP, your DS's, your 3DS's, your new 3DS. Not a new one. Like this is a brand new one.
Yeah, that's my joke. You shut up.
Like you know, it's not new, but it is new.
New Switch. There you go. New Switch Lite.
Yeah. Look, to be honest, with the way that light looked, like every time I kept staring at the graphic, the only thing that I kept motherfucking seeing is all they did is they took the fucking Wii U gamepad.
Yes.
They redesigned it slightly, and now they're like, oh, because we had to add 2 extra buttons, $200. Literally, that's what the motherfucker looks like. Go back. Everybody else who can, go back and rewind the episode. Look at the motherfucker. They took the fucking gamepad with the 2 buttons up here, like the 2 little fucking sticks, up here, and he moved one down here and put the buttons up here, and they said we had to move 2 things. So because we had to flip circuits and put some soldering on it, $200.
Like I said,
For fucking what?
the original Switch is what.
That's like if I go to a fucking mechanic and he goes, "Oh, your check engine light was on, so I looked. You needed an oil change, so I changed out the oil. $500. For fucking what? Seeing the light was on? I already told you I needed an oil change. Yeah, but the light was on. I need $500 extra because I saw the light."
Well, you charge me $500. You're about to see the fucking light.
True.
That's it. That was this episode. That was episode 14. Thank you for hanging out with us. And remember, this show is a live show now when we finally get this up on the podcast and everything like that. I just haven't been going out of my way because I want this thing to start working before I decide whether or not we're worried about podcasts. In terms of this show, if we're going to bring it back to the podcast, I'm still in debate. I'm trying to make the live part work. Regardless, this was episode 14. And remember, we go live Friday nights at 8 o'clock. And so far, I think the show's working out. The next one has not quite been decided what it is, but we do have this little book now that's we're up to like 41 topics. So we have 41 episodes that are possible to do at any time. So it's working. I think it is. I think that slowly but surely we'll start getting the views as people figure out that we're consistent.
Yep.
I think this is a good idea. I think taking the shows live is a big deal. And I think that this show is helping to pivot some other ideas that we have too, which I think will be a big deal also.
Right.
Bye.